Hello, Barbies, Kens, Theys, and Thems. Welcome to Nicole Reacts, the show in which I, Nicole, react to online marketing gurus that I find, that other people help me find, and sometimes who even find me on the internet. My qualifications for marketing snark and marketing commentary are that I've owned a marketing company for 15 years. Wait, 16 now. In that time, I've worked with hundreds of clients on marketing strategy and implementation. So I know a fair bit when it comes to online marketing, as well as related topics like website development, search engine optimization, and that kind of thing. I hit a YouTube milestone that I hoped that I would never hit, which is that I lost a recording. I just recorded for 3 hours and that file just got lost because I clicked a button. Lesson learned. It's something I think that happens to everybody at some point, and now it has happened to me. So if you're watching this video and you're like, Nicole is not having as many facial expressions as she usually has, that's why. So I wanted to return to something we haven't done in a while here on this channel, which is reacting to a social media marketing training from an MLM person. Now, I am not someone who agrees with multi-level marketing companies. I will link to a video that I did, I think almost 4 years ago now, about reasons why, as a marketing person, I don't agree with multi-level marketing companies. I think it's a pretty kind of unique take about it. I have the same problems that everyone else has with them on a personal level, like the fact that the people on the bottom have to pay money for the person at the top to get paid. Therefore, somebody is always losing money, that 99% or more of people actually lose money in network marketing companies. The fact that your compensation isn't based on how many products you sell, but how many people you recruit, which seems unrelated, right? If something is a wellness company, I should be making money selling wellness products. And the fact that the actual products themselves typically have a very high markup and are of lower or comparable quality to things that are much less expensive that are available to people out there. So these are my issues in personally, but that video goes into more business issues that I have with multi-level marketing. And on this channel, we've talked about multiple multi-level marketing people, and I see more and more of them shifting away from being a top earner at X company into business coaching or into selling planners or into selling courses and stuff like that. And I think it's because they see the writing on the wall. They see their paychecks maybe changing. Otherwise, if you were doing really good in a business, you wouldn't start adding other businesses to what you were doing. You would just keep making hay where the sun shines, right? So today's person is Melanie Mitro. She is a top earner at Body, which she keeps calling Beach Body because that's what the name of the company used to be. And she has a business consultancy, but it also looks like she does social media marketing. So I thought we would look at her website before we actually watch the training. So let's take a quick look at that. So the reason I'm showing this search results page is I want to show the description of her website and the description of her Instagram. So the description of her website, which is melaniemitro.com, is Melanie Mitro is a social media and business consultant with Chic Influencer and the 4X top coach with Team Beachbody. Okay. And then below that, it says Melanie Mitro. That's her Instagram handle. And she is a direct sales leadership coach and a digital creator. So I'm just showing that she's kind of shifting away from just being a body or a beach body person into a sort of business consultancy role. This is Melanie Mitro. How can I help you? So we can work with her. She's a multi seven-figure business earner. She also does health accountability and she has a podcast. So I'm going to click work with me. Now, somewhere on one of these pages, she mentions that she does social media marketing services. So she does business consulting. So you can work with her or her business partner. And I think they do custom trainings and presentations. So if you wanted to train your staff or if you wanted to get better at something, they would create a custom training. They also, it looks like they do private coaching. I have a feeling this is sort of a one-on-one, AKA more expensive offering than the trainings. Sounds like it's a more ongoing thing too. And then Chic Way Media is where they do social media management services. And obviously I want to look at that. All right, so we get to this website and already there's a pop-up, and I have talked about how I feel about pop-ups that show up right away. I don't even know you yet. I just got to your website and you're already like selling me something. Now, unless it's a coupon code, then I'm fine with that. It's, oh, hey, here's 10% off if you type this in. I'm fine with you telling me that right away. But direct sales done right collective. Okay, so this looks like a business membership. Oof, when I hover over the click here, it becomes this very light pink color, which is not high contrast enough. But let's just look at how expensive this direct sales training and membership experience. Okay, so it looks like there's a series of trainings, and it also looks like maybe there's some sort of PDFs and things you can download. And also there is maybe a Facebook page or similar. Yeah, it looks like a Facebook page. I don't want to watch the 2-minute commercial on this. I'm just going to scroll down and I just want to see how much this costs. And I wish I would have been able to save the recording, because my reaction at this being $109 a month was kind of incredulous when I first saw it. Most of these programs I see are around like $20 or $40 a month, but $109 is a lot. And I get that you get monthly master classes and you get access to the full course library, which is they just record everything and put it somewhere. Online membership community, I'm guessing that's a Facebook group. Done for you templates, conversation and script guides, etc. Now, I want to see how much their social media services cost. So let's see. Products and services, digital sales courses and education, direct sales planners, direct sales branding services, and mentorship services. Okay, the way they said social media marketing services, I thought they provided direct services, but let's take a look at how much this planner is. Okay, this one is $58. So this thing is 8.5 by 11, which is the size of a sheet of paper, and it is spiral bound. This looks like just a big, thick book to have to carry around, and $58 is a lot for a planner. Now, an absolute sidebar to this is that I have always been a paper planner girly. I have had a planner since 7th grade. The summer going into my 7th grade year, I actually was in a car accident. I got hit by a car on my bike, and I had a pretty major head injury. Like, it was bad enough that they prepared my parents that I would be brain damaged the rest of my life, kind of thing. It's gotten better, but since then, and especially that first couple of years after, I had a really hard time accessing my memory. So I really got used to just writing everything down. So I got one of those Sierra Club planners. I don't know if you've seen, there's like a pretty nature picture on one side, and on the other side is like your week divided up into days. So I just got really used to writing down my assignments or when I had practices or things like that in my planner. And now, as a 43-year-old woman, I continue doing so to this day. Now, I have a digital calendar in the way of a Google Calendar because I have to communicate about my plans with other people besides me. But I still do have a paper planner, and I buy a new one every year. It's basically a bullet journal. Now, if you've ever looked up bullet journals on Pinterest, those are a lot prettier than my bullet journal. My bullet journal is very functional. But what I really was looking for was a place that I could keep notes that I took when I met with clients, that I could keep ongoing lists of like books I wanted to read or ideas I wanted to look into and stuff like that. So having just a blank book that I set up every year is what works for me. Now, the thing about my planner is because I use it every day, it has to be something that I want to carry around. And there's two things I don't like about this planner that I just saw that I think would exclude it, no matter how good it was, from me carrying it around, which is how big it is, which is the fact that it's as big as a sheet of paper. My planner needs to be small enough that I can put it in my purse. Because if I'm meeting someone for coffee or whatever, and we start talking, I want to be able to take it out and start writing things down. I don't want it to be so small and thin that it's annoying to write in and reference on a regular basis. But I think the size I have is A4 or A5. I'll put it on the screen, but I basically buy a Rhodia blank dot grid journal in a different color every year. What I like about that, besides its size, is that it is not spiral bound. When something's spiral bound and it's like in my bag, it gets caught on stuff. So as I'm pulling it out, it could get caught in my bag. It could scratch my laptop. It could poke me. So I like non-wired. I like a bound system so that it's not cutting me up when I'm reaching into my bag. And I also like the Rhodia planners because they have a little elastic on them. And so I can like tuck a pen into them and then put the elastic on and it keeps the pen secure in there. So I always have access to a pen in addition to obviously the notebook ready to go. So that's what works for me. I'm not saying it works for everybody, but I'm saying that this planner, if it's something I have to take from my home, put it in my car, bring it into my office, bring it into multiple meetings a day, bring it back to my car and back into my house and just do that every day, it can't be this bulky spiral bound thing that is as big as my computer. It just makes me not want to carry it around. So that's why this planner personally wouldn't work for me. And I've done a ton of experimentation with different planners. I've tried the Rocket book planner. I've tried some other kind of pre-done planners and they just don't work for me like the blank book does. But if you can charge $58 for a planner and get it, I don't know, good for you, I guess. Also, what I don't like about this planner is I can't really see what the inside looks like. I just see the cover. Hold on, let me actually share the screen again so you can see what I mean. I don't really see what the pages look like, what it's going to be like to interact with this planner. And that's actually pretty important to me as somebody who's going to be writing in this thing day to day. And then I just want to go back and I want to see what their branding services are. So they have branding services, our direct personalized branding services, chic branding experience. I feel like I have to click on 1,000 things. I have like 8 tabs open. I know you can only see one at a time, but this is a lot. So chic branding experience, personal branding for direct sales. Okay, so it looks like Katie, and that's not Melanie. Katie's her business partner. So it looks like Katie has experience with this. So you get a fully customized experience with 4 phases to create completely unique marketing strategy and provide ongoing support from a trained chic influencer media specialist. Let's scroll down here. So there's 4 phases. There's an analysis phase, an in-depth questionnaire consisting of specific questions about your current brand, product, services. The questionnaire will ask you about your business, your goals, as well as external factors so we can begin understanding. Okay. And then brand messaging phase, a live 1-hour session. So we'll spend approximately an hour diving into your current brand messaging, passions, knowledge, and business goals with Katie Ersta, your story brand and marketing expert. I thought story brand was a Donald Miller coined thing. There's no registered trademark here or anything, but okay. So we spend an hour with her and then unique marketing phase. Sit back, relax. We do all the work in this phase. Okay. So we get a 35 plus page PDF with your identified intentional brand, your niche, your clarified staples story. I'm guessing that's like your origin story, like your why that makes you cry, right? Your unique sharing proposition, your niche, okay? Your unique keyword strategy, okay? Your 30-day personal content strategy, which includes content ideas and calls to action, lead magnet suggestions. So they're not going to develop a lead magnet or say, hey, you should make an ebook about 31 ways to X or whatever. Your personal and social media growth strategy, your personal story and post templates. I'm guessing these are Canva templates, maybe, and specific chic influencer social media training based on your needs. So optimization and ongoing support phase. Okay, so this is a 30-minute live section. So you received your PDF, your mind will be blown. It may be tempting to be overwhelmed, but we won't let you. After you reviewed your marketing plan and your assigned brand specialist will meet with you and discuss the implementation and effectiveness of your personal marketing strategy. Okay, so your live optimization session must be completed within 1 month of receiving your PDF. Worried about constant updates? We've got you covered. Okay, so let's see. Is chic branding experience for me? Which looks like a Canva template, but it is for you if you're a woman in network marketing who's ready to niche down and attract more like-minded people. If you're coachable, red flag word. I feel like obviously we're all open to learning new things that apply to us. It's like me having to constantly say, hey, everyone, listen, I'm a nice person. If I keep saying I'm coachable, like, wouldn't I be open to learning new things if they're good for me? Anyway, so you're coachable and motivated to achieve your social media goals by implementing your proven social media strategies. You believe you can figure it out on your own, but you want to shorten the learning curve. to achieve your goals faster by working with a content coach and a branding specialist. You want to gain more clarity on your unique staples story and specific guidance on what to post on social media. You believe in the power of investing in yourself. It's not for you if you feel nervous about investing in your business. So basically, if you don't want to spend money, this isn't for you. And some of these X's just aren't lined up. So as you see, some of them are lined up with the X part being just below the text of the bottom line, whereas some of them are in the middle of the group of text. Yeah, if this is how they approach your branding, the attention to detail doesn't really impress me. Sorry. Okay, I hadn't actually looked at this part before. So in the lost recording, I hadn't looked at the price of this. So at least you got one candid reaction from me. Holy shit. It is $1,500 for someone to spend a couple of hours with you and to maybe spend a couple of hours filling out a template that they already have that they're giving to a ton of other people, probably, allegedly. But I guess what I'm wondering is this is a set amount of money. If you're going to be doing ongoing marketing work for somebody, obviously it's going to be like in addition to this. So I'm really curious how much they charge for ongoing marketing work. Maybe they only try to sell it to us once we've gone through this course, though. That might be it. That got real. Okay. So now we know who these people are and what they do. Let's watch this training. So this training, by the way, it's an hour long. So prepare your hearts. I might make this a two-parter for my editing sanity as well as your watching sanity. But this training is called February 14 Bonus Impromptu Social Media Training. I'm going to keep myself like this because she does get into sharing slides with a lot of text on them. And I want you to be able to see the text. So I'm going to keep myself little over here.
To get started. All right. Hi, guys. As you guys jump in, I just am asking everybody to just very quickly introduce themselves, where you're from, and what business that you run. So yes, life insurance. Jermaine, thank you. Awesome. This will be perfect for you. All right, Jermaine, what made you decide to join this training today?
She's like, I'm a body person. So I kind of expected most people to be body people. So this person sells insurance. Is there a life insurance MLM? Maybe there is, and I just don't know it.
You somebody that already markets themselves on social media, or are you wanting to get started with social media marketing? So I'm curious.
This training is for everybody. Although ideally you would have two separate trainings, right? You'd have here is a training if you know nothing. And then here's a training if you've been doing it for a little while. Maybe you've reached a bit of a plateau, like you've gotten to 300 likes on Facebook and you just haven't been climbing much beyond that. And then maybe there's a third training that's like, okay, you're ready to monetize your content or you're ready to use some of these more advanced features like the remarketing pixel and stuff like that. So I don't know. I guess to me, those are three very different groups of people. It would be hard to do a training that sort of tried to hit everyone, but
Shona, yep, through our team page. Awesome. British Columbia, Canada. Okay. With Beachbody. Awesome. Beachbody coach and Epicure. Amy, I don't know what Epicure is. So that
I think Epicure is like Pampered Chef. I think it's like a cooking one.
is very cool.
I think.
So awesome. Welcome. Go ahead, keep typing in the chat bar as you guys jump on. So hopefully you can see my screen nice and big. Good afternoon, Pittsburgh. Awesome. Well,
I can't see your screen yet and you're not sharing it yet, but she is going to.
Sabika. Yes, Sabika's been around for a really long time.
Actually, Sabika's an OG.
Actually do have some Sabika jewelry from back in the
Oh, right. I thought Sabika was a person, but yeah, now I remember Sabika is an MLM that says jewelry. I guess a pre-paparazzi maybe.
Day when I went to a party. So, they've been around for 20 years. That is super cool. So yes, and social media is such an awesome place for you to leverage your business, to be able to grow a target audience. We're going to talk a lot about that today. One more thing. Again, I like participation, so I'll ask you guys a lot of questions. I do have a question for you though. How long have you been in business? That's another question.
16 years.
So anybody that's like brand new, or have you been doing business for a while? So tell me a little bit about what's your experience level? Would you say you're beginner, intermediate, or advanced in terms of social media? Oh, Jermaine, you're friends with Simon. Awesome. I am good at social media content. So this is a great place for you to be. I love it. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I am going to walk you through our training today. So like I said, this training is free. As long as you signed up for it, you will get the recording. I will share the slides with you. You should be able to see my screen nice and big. Can everybody see this first slide on there? And you guys can see it nice and big. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's go ahead. Brand new, COVID has changed the landscape. It really has, definitely. It has. I started my company in 2015. Now I'm venturing on to something new, very cool, adding another.
Venturing on to something new. If you're the top earner or one of the top earners in body, why are you venturing on to something new?
Layer is always fun, but always challenging too. So like figuring out how to juggle two things. Let me just go ahead and explain who I am, because there are some people that are new and don't know me specifically. So I run two companies actually. So I started in 2011 in the direct sales space. So I started in.
So she started in Beachbody 13 years ago, okay? And she's one of the top earners in the company. What I'd be really curious about is, are there any other top earners in the company who started within the last 3 years? Not people who are in like emerging markets. So not people who are in countries where Beachbody is just entering. I'm talking about maybe people in the US or Canada or other countries where Beachbody, whatever we're calling it, has been around for a while. I'd be really curious about that. And while I'm paused, I'm just going to acknowledge the stuff on this slide that's bugging me in terms of alignment so that it can bother you too. So if you look at the very light pink box that's behind the title that says co-owners chic influencer, first of all, you'll notice that if there's space above the letters and there's space below the letters of the pink box, and you'll notice the space on the top of the letters is bigger than the space on the bottom. Now, it could be because the C of co-owner and the C of chic takes up more vertical space than the other letters, but I feel like the padding should be consistent around it. And I also feel like if you're going to do something like this, there is like left and right padding. So the left padding to the left of co-owners and the padding to the right of influencer, the last R. To me, those should be the same amount of space if we're centering it, but there's more space after the R than there is before the C. In addition, if we look at their names, so Melanie Mitro, there's some space between her picture and her name, Melanie Mitro, written out. But with Katie Ersta, there isn't the same amount of space between her picture and her written name. And the Instagram icon, Melanie Mitro, her handle is touching the Instagram icon, whereas Katie Ersta, her handle is not touching the Instagram icon. There's more space. And of course, the bullets aren't lined up with each other. So now all of that can bug you too.
In network marketing.
By the way, there is several points in which these slides are not 100% lined up and stuff. And what I would recommend doing if you're someone who doesn't notice this stuff is if you're designing this in Canva or whatever, you can overlay a grid. So you can put like a grid, but obviously put it behind your content, but ahead of your background so you can see it. And you can make it super light. And then you can just line up everything to the grid if you're the kind of person who doesn't notice this stuff. I just see it and it bugs me. But like if you're the kind of person who's like, oh, I wouldn't ever notice that, but I would want to be able to avoid that, you can overlay a grid. On your slides, you put all your content on there. Don't worry about it right off. Just get all the content in there. And then you can go through and just make sure everything lines up. And I left this as a Reddit comment in one of the snarky Reddits. But all these people will say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so me pointing out this attention to detail, like it's important for me for everything to look as good as possible. And I think someone editing these slides could have caught this. And I think if someone wasn't going to edit these slides, I think a grid and someone really going through it with a fine tooth comb also could have caught this.
Marketing in 2011 with Team Beachbody. So I started as a Beachbody coach 10 and a half years ago, and I truly had zero knowledge or expertise when it came to social.
10 and a half years ago. Okay, she's recording this in 2024, And she said she started in 2011. I can do third grade math, right? Like I'm doing that right.
Social media and marketing. I had a Facebook page. I did not have an Instagram account. I had less than 100 friends on Facebook. I'm about the most introverted person that you will ever meet. My husband really does challenge me to get outside of my comfort zone, but I just
Also, this job is making her extrovert, even though she doesn't like doing it. And I will say, like, obviously, as a salesperson, you probably have to speak and extrovert a little bit more often. But it always makes me sad when people are like, oh, I'm a private person, I'm a quiet person. And these platforms make you perform otherwise. I don't know. It just makes me a little sad people can't just be who they are.
to give you an idea, I used to pull into the garage of our townhouse, and your townhouse is everybody's connected. And I would put down the garage door before I got out of the car so I didn't have to talk to other people, right? To the neighbors. And I'm quiet. I'm very private. Social media for me was one of those things where I used it to see what people I went to high school or college were up to. I would post when the boys were born or birthdays or vacations or anniversaries, but I wasn't somebody that was super active. I have an undergrad degree in psychology. I have a master's in special education. So I don't have a marketing or a sales background. But what I can tell,
I don't think you need one necessarily to be good at selling on social media, in particular, because social media came out. I'm guessing me and this woman are around the same age, just based on the age of her children and a couple of things she's going to reference later. And the thing is, like, social media just wasn't around even when I was in college. So it would have been really hard to study social media marketing or internet marketing when it didn't exist while I was in school. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think you necessarily need that training. I do think you need that experience, though, to be able to teach other people.
tell you is that about 5 months after I had my second boy, and his name is Bryce, I found myself as a stay-at-home mom who truly was feeling lost. I had left my full-time job. I was the director of early intervention in Butler County. I was running the Birth to Three developmental program, left that job to be a stay-at-home mom, and found myself really missing that human interaction, that human connection, that contribution in the workplace. And
I think everybody misses that. So when I quit my job to do this business, I did miss like interactions because I was working from home and I lived by myself. And I remember one time the mailman came at 3 p.m. with some mail and I said, thank you. And my voice cracked because I literally hadn't spoken all day. I'd gone the entire day without speaking to anyone out loud. So I understand what she's saying, but I also don't think you need to join a multi-level marketing company to get that kind of community. Just some ideas like check your local library's event calendar. They typically have events that are geared at children or parents with children, things like story times or other activities. You can check out meetup.com. Like there's meetup groups. Typically, maybe you have to drive a little bit if you live in a rural area, but maybe there's like a group that goes on a hike once a month or something that you can connect with. And then as a completely sort of selfish plug, you can join something like a local co-working space. Like I have a co-working space and I've noticed that a lot of people kind of benefit from being around other people without necessarily needing to talk to them. We sort of have a quiet camaraderie and maybe I get up to go make coffee and maybe someone joins me in the kitchenette and we have a little chat. There's a study that I saw that I thought was really interesting that I'll link in the show notes, but basically it was about introverts and how being in spaces like a coffee shop or a co-working space or something where you're not directly interacting with people but you're around other people is beneficial to you, like from a mental health or even just a health standpoint. I'll link that up. But there is some benefit with being around people, but there's ways to get that community without joining an MLM.
And so I found myself on social media, first of all, talking about weight loss. So that's how I got into Beachbody. And then once I saw the physical transformation with the health and wellness products that the company offered, I started to think, wow, it would be crazy cool if I could transform the lives of other women as well, if I could help them to do what I've been able to do. And so I was very passionate about exercise. I was very passionate about clean eating because it was something that I had learned for myself. I came from that background of the diet culture, like low fat free. You have to cut calories.
The fat-free, cutting calories. This is a message that was drilled into us in the 1990s. If you weren't a teenager in the 90s, it's kind of hard to understand how, like, the message of fat-free, the Snackwell's cookies that were fat-free, and how all this stuff was really marketed to us to be smaller, as well as the Abercrombie, Kate Moss, heroin chic aesthetic. So it sounds like she makes references like this, and that's what makes me think we're around the same age or similar ages anyway.
Calories. You have to starve yourself in order to get results. And so when I started actually fueling myself with good food, reading nutrition labels, I found myself constantly wanting to share that with others. So right there, that was a passion of mine. That light bulb came on, right? I didn't know that was a passion that I had until I had this personal experience with the products. And maybe that's how you got into the opportunity that you're a part of right now. And then the second layer was I started to, once I signed up and became a Beachbody coach, I started to get on team calls. And so for many of you, whether you have a sales job or you're in network marketing or you own a small business, once I started to see what was possible with other people around me. And so for me, it was hearing the success stories of the other people in the industry who were able to get out of financial stress that they were having. They were able to buy a home that was more comfortable. They were able to afford things for their family that they couldn't do before. And
I don't understand why all of these business presentations, at least pretty much all the ones I've watched, start off with this like financial or other similar sob story. I don't know. I feel like your business should be compelling enough that people would want to be a part of it without indirectly promising them a certain lifestyle. But yeah, that's what I think of when I hear these it just makes it feel more gross. If this is a social media training, let's talk about social media. Let's talk about how social media increased your sales or how social media increased awareness or how social media got you some interesting press opportunity or something. Let's talk about the benefits of social media rather than saying, "Oh, people joined this business and then they were able to buy a bigger house or a sexier car or something."
And here I was sitting in our 3-bedroom townhouse that we were busting at the seams.
There's the sob story. There it is. I was poor like you once.
And we were choked almost like up against the wall with financial obligations. There was no end in sight. There was tons of debt, tons of bills that were coming our way. And so when I heard what was possible with this opportunity, I was like, I'm going all in. I'm changing my life. And so that was really the catalyst for what made me say, I don't know how to do this social media thing, but I see the power in it and I'm going to make it happen.
If you want to start a business, I am all for you starting a business. I just don't think joining a business that has a 99 point something percent failure rate is a great use of your time. I would much rather you say, you know what? I really like kids. I'm going to start my own daycare out of my house. Or I really want to sew things, take thrift store finds and remake them into cool clothes and sell them online. Like, I'd much rather you take your energy and market that. You're going to be so much more successful than joining a company like this.
And so I started building my online business from my old rickety Dell laptop computer and in my kitchen table.
You don't need a fancy computer if you're doing stuff that is web based. So, for example, like if I am just maintaining a Facebook and an Instagram page, if I'm writing some marketing emails, like I'm just logging into facebook.com, instagram.com, I'm logging into mailchimp.com to send my emails. Maybe I'm logging into Gmail to check my, personal messages. I don't need a high powered computer to be able to do that. So don't think you have to buy a brand new computer to do this kind of work because you really don't. You probably want maybe that computer to not have a ton of crap on it. You want it to have a certain amount of open space, like 25% or more, maybe. Maybe you want to defrag it on a regular basis, stuff like that. You want to maintain your computer. And then maybe you want a fast internet connection because all the stuff you're doing is online. So, however fast you can access the internet might allow you to do your tasks faster. But you don't need like a fancy computer. I only got the computer I have now, which is the first new computer I have owned in my entire business life of 16 years. I bought it 2 years ago. And it was because actually Ben noticed this. I was rendering a video on my computer and it like freezes when it does that, or my old computer did. And so I had my phone out and I was answering email. And he's like, "What are you doing on your phone?" I'm like, "I'm writing an email." He's like, "Why aren't you doing it on your computer?" And I'm like, "It's processing a video." And he's like, "Well, that's stupid. Like, it seems like your computer can't keep up with your workload." And I was like, "Oh, good point." So I ended up getting a computer with a better processor so I could do more video work. So at that point, it starts to make sense, but you can just start off with your crappy Dell on your kitchen table. Like, it's okay. You do not have to go out and buy a $2,000 computer to do this kind of work or to do any kind of web-based work similarly.
And I started to build in the pockets of nap time or early mornings or evenings. And I was a sponge. I was totally 100% coachable. And I was willing to go out there and figure out this online marketing.
Yeah, if you're going to learn a whole new business, you have to be willing to learn. Period. Why why is being coachable this thing they always bring up? Like, obviously, if you're willing to run a new kind of business to you, you're going to be willing to learn something.
And so what happened was over the past 10 years, I have not only figured it out, but I've created a duplicatable way to train my organization, to train people that I privately coach. And then I went off and started a business called Chic Influencer with one of my
So to duplicate training, all you would have to do is plan a good training and record it. And then, for example, when you had someone new join your company, you'd be like, okay, here's the video of exactly how to set up your Instagram. Step one, you're going to set up your Instagram account with an email address. This is how you pick your handle. This is how you fill out your profile. This is how you pick your profile picture. This is how you make a custom link and what you should link to. This is, you go through exactly how to do that. You record it once, and then as many people that you're going to train on Instagram, you just send them that recording. This whole duplicatable process, what is it? Just I made a good training and I recorded it and I put it somewhere where I could access the recording so I could reuse it. I don't know if that's a system, but
one of the top leaders in my organization, and we now teach other people the strategies that helped us effectively market and get out there and create a solid business. And so over the past 10 years, I have built a top in industry team. So I'm a 4-time top in industry. I've served on the coach advisory board for Beachbody. I have spoke at
it's called Body now though, right?
almost every single one of their leadership events, their new leader conferences, their annual conferences. I help to create the marketing structure and strategy for the company as well. And every single business owner I sit down with, it is the same exact model. And it doesn't matter if you're in real estate, it doesn't matter if you're insurance, if you're network marketing, or if you own a brick and mortar business, the same strategy applies. And
it does not. Nicole tirade. No, it is not the same thing. I would not propose the same marketing strategy if someone had a real estate company versus a e-commerce store. You know what I mean? So for example, let's just take Facebook as a platform. So for example, within Facebook or Meta, I guess we're calling it, if you're a real estate agent, you can pull in your real estate listings into Meta Business Suite and you can run ads to specific real estate listings targeting specific people. Ideally, you have your real estate listings pulling into your website, but that's a whole other story, right? That's much different advice than me telling my e-commerce people what you're probably going to want to do is you're probably going to want to add a remarketing pixel to your website. And you're going to want to create different events based on someone going to the shopping area, someone looking at a category of product, someone adding a product to the shopping cart, and then someone checking out. Like you want to track the whole buying journey. And you can take out specific ads related to people in the buying journey. So if someone made a purchase, you could take out a thank you ad to them saying, hey, thanks for your purchase. Your next purchase gets 15% off. Here's the code. You got to use it within the next week. So you can run that ad to the thank you people. And then to someone who had something in their cart, maybe you run an email campaign, an abandoned cart email, and you say, hey, you could left something in your cart. I'm just saying, like, these are two very different kinds of businesses, and just using the same platform, I would have different approaches as to how I would advise them. So, no, the same marketing strategy is not going to work no matter what kind of business you have. Sorry, I wish my job was that easy. I wish I could just give everyone the same marketing strategy and then lie on the beach and fan myself with $1,000 bills. But sadly, it is a lot more hands-on than that. It is a lot more custom than that for it to actually work. But I digress. Anyway, let's get back to it.
And so I want you to know that the things I teach you today are what has helped me scale a multi-million dollar business with direct sales, but also what has helped us to scale a multi-million dollar business with Chic Influencer, which Chic does provide private coaching. We have online courses. We have a community.
Is it a multi-seven-figure business though? My criticism with all of these people, multi-level marketing or not, is when they're like, I grew my platform to this. I want to be able to see them do it again one more time in the exact same kind of business model. So she grew a multi-level marketing company and then she grew a consultancy. Okay. Can she grow another consultancy with the same tactics? Can she grow another network marketing person with the same tactics? Can she do it again? And most of the time, these people can't do it again because, yes, they might have done great marketing, but there was other reasons for their success. There's a lot of other factors that go into how successful you are. So, for example, the tactics that you use to build a multi-level marketing company in 2011 are going to be much different than they are today. Conditions that the market is in, people that you know, how big your existing audience is, when you joined the company. These are all factors that you cannot replicate with another person. These are all things that are unique to you and your timing of starting your business. Like, I don't promise people like, hey, listen, if you go back and do exactly what I did in 2007, that you're going to be successful, because I don't think it's true. I think you would have to do different things now. But I'm also not out here telling people that I can replicate my exact success with them. I'm sure my level of success would not impress these people, but it does pay my bills and it does employ other people. I'm at least moderately successful. Maybe not seven figures successful, but at least I know it's not on the backs of people underneath me who've had to lose money to give me success.
We launched our own social media planner and we do keynote speaking events and masterminds as well. So I want you to know that what I'm going to teach today is we're going to scratch the surface, but this is the process and system that is going to help you generate new leads, develop trust and credibility with your audience, and ultimately help you to convert people into either paying customers or members of your team or whatever it may be that you do. Okay. So what I want to talk about, how does that sound? That sound good? Are you like,
So I'll just mention really briefly before she clicks away from the slide that if we look at Katie's bullet points, she mentioned verbally that Katie was a top earner in an MLM. I'm not sure if it was also in Body or if it was in another one, but it's not listed in her little bullet points here. But it does look like she's spent more of her time being a writer, because it mentions she's the author of a prayer journal, and it looks like also she's featured on Scary Mommy, I Know, as a mom blog. So I think Katie has spent more of her time writing, and it seems like Melanie has spent more of her time speaking. So it seems like they have complementary skill sets in that way. But I did want to mention that it lists that Melanie is a top earner in Beachbody, but it doesn't list that Katie is a top earner in an MLM. But I think she verbally said that she was.
I would love to make some more money. I would love to be able to, and two, I'm going to give you one more example before we dive into this. One thing that really made me say, aha moment.
We're like 10 minutes into a 1 hour presentation. I've watched half of this. We're going to get some more selling here before the content actually starts.
And you can ask me questions in the comments. So if at any point in time you think of a question, drop it there. I'll answer them at the end. But I remember early on, I was going out and doing face-to-face meetings. And so I would go, I would set up my products. I would do a table and health and fitness. We would do workouts together. And so I would spend all this time loading product into my car, going to a location, setting up my product, setting up all of the samples, and then we would do a group workout together, and then I would stay afterwards and I would talk to people. And sometimes I would acquire new leads. I would maybe have a new customer that came through.
Yeah, but like, this is what people do. Like, farmers go to farmers markets, and it's the same thing, right? They have to haul their stuff and set up in a location and then pack it all up and do it again. So farmers markets, people who do trade shows, artists who do arts and crafts fairs. So this is not unique to the direct selling industry of going somewhere, setting up, and then taking down. And it is annoying to have to do it, but there's a reason that people do it, which is that it does allow people to manipulate the product, right? They can, hold it in their hands, they can look at it. They have that face-to-face connection. And yeah, we can do a lot of connecting online, but that personal connection is the reason that even in a post-COVID world, we're still doing in-person conferences. By the way, I'm sure that this person, the next body convention or whatever, she's going to tell her whole downline that they need to go in person. That's really valuable. But she's also making this idea of being in person with people sound really tedious. You just have to be in person with people sometimes. That's just part of the gig.
But what was happening is I was spending a half hour or an hour getting myself set up and all the talk beforehand, then an hour doing the workout and the actual event. Then it was taking me an hour to break everything down, talk to people afterwards. And so I was out of the home for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes
people go to conventions for like sometimes 4 days, 5 days a week. Some people who do craft shows will do multiple weekends throughout the summer, for example, of shows or around the holidays. 3 hours isn't bad.
2 or 3 nights a week. And what
2 or 3 nights a week for 3 hours, not yeah, I get it. You're supposed to be doing a from home job, and that feels like a lot to spend 9 hours in real life with people. I think you could still do stuff like that, but maybe not as often. I still think it's worthwhile, though, to spend in-person time with people.
what I started to realize was, oh my gosh, I can quadruple the amount of people I talk to and the amount of sales that I close if I took that 3 hours and actually spent that time online. And so I was able to, and not have to find a babysitter for the kids or leave my kids at home. Like I could do it in the pockets of
Can't your husband help? They're his children too, right?
my time. And so that was the other ticket that made me say social media is such a powerful tool. If we leverage it and use it, it can be time saving, right? It can be exponential in terms of people you can talk to. Because when you go to an event, you only can talk to the people in the room. But when you're on social media, you have an ability to reach an infinite number of people based on how good you are at sharing that message. All right.
And one tip I want to share from my friend Joy, I'm working on a presentation about building an online network for a conference that's coming up this week. And so I was talking to her about it 'cause she's pretty much one of the best people I know in terms of maintaining her network. And one thing she told me, which I thought was a really cool idea, so I'll share it with you in case you're going to an in-person event, whether it's like a conference or a trade show or something, is what she does is after the event, she connects with everybody that was at the trade show, whether or the conference, whether she met them or not. She connects with them on LinkedIn. She'll send a message like, "Hey, like I see we were both at X conference. I'm so sorry we didn't get to meet in real life. Would you want to catch up sometime and learn more about each other's businesses?" And she says like 50% of the time people are like pretty open to it. So just if you go to a conference and you don't want to put that pressure of having to connect with everybody while you're there, you can do something like that afterward. And I asked her, I said, "Well, how do you know, the full list of participants?" And she says, "Well, a lot of conferences I go to have an app and I can see everyone in the app. But sometimes if you're a vendor there, they will give you a list of conference attendees if you ask." So just want to put that out there that if you go to an in-person event and you just don't have time to see everybody or meet everybody you want to talk to, that might be a good method to leverage the fact you went to that conference while also taking that pressure off you having to do everything in 3 days.
So that's something else that made me go, I need to learn this. I need to master this tool because it is so powerful. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to identify some of the problems that business owners actually have when it comes to social media. And if you are any of these, you can drop it in the comments. But when
I will say, I think this is a really good slide. I think she goes through it really slow. I've already seen this before, but I think the problems she brings up are really legitimate.
you look at your company that you represent and that you're a part of, a lot of us, we don't start as marketers. All of us start as product users for the most part, or we see the potential. And so how many of you became the business owner that you are today because you love the products? So let's say Sabika, right? Maybe you went to a Sabika party and you loved the jewelry and you loved it so much that you thought, maybe I'll become a consultant because then I'll get a discount on the jewelry, right? And so you love the concept of becoming a business owner, but you actually have no idea how to actually market yourself. Or maybe you're sitting here right now and you're saying, I absolutely love making candles, right? And I love making candles in my kitchen. And so many people now are asking me about these great smelling candles that are burning in my house. And I tell them I make them myself. And people say, oh my gosh, will you make me these candles? And then they start to say, how much will you charge for the candles? And then my friends start to say, Melanie, you should go into business and you should sell your own candles. And so in the concept, it sounds great. But again, we now have to set up a website. We now have to actually market ourselves. We have to forecast the amount of product, the time it's going to take to make it.
So I'm going to just point this out, which is that like the problem of being a network marketing person and not knowing how to market the products is different than someone who is thinking of starting a brand new business from scratch. Like these are two different sets of problems. Her bringing this up, I'm wondering if she's trying to make starting a business from scratch sound like a lot more work than just joining a multi-level marketing company. I guess the result is in both cases you don't know how to use social media, but in the case of starting a brand new business from scratch, you just have some kind of bigger problems to figure out first, like how you're going to price your products and, how taxes work and where you're going to sell them and stuff. Like you need to figure out all the operations stuff before you start promoting it, obviously, because if you're going to sell the candles for $15 or $20 or $40, like that's something you need to know to set up online sales or to start working with stores who are going to be wholesale accounts with you to sell your candles. So I think the reason she's bringing this up is to make it sound like a pain in the ass, but like not knowing how to use social media and you just don't even know if you're starting a business yet, like is not the problem you're going to be addressing, if that makes sense.
How do we generate sales? Who's going to handle customer service? And so we come into a lot of times into the business that we own and we say, I love what I do, but I don't know how to.
But you don't own your network marketing company. You're a representative for Beachbody. You're a 1099 worker. You have no control over the products themselves, the product quality, the product price, the customer service that they receive if they contact Body headquarters. Like you don't have control over any of that. So it's not really your business. Body could decide next week that they are getting rid of all of their market partners or their MLM people and that they're just going to do retail or they're just going to do online sales or something. And then you would be out of work. So it's not your business. Like I know it feels like your business because you're not getting paid like a set wage. So it does feel like self-employment in terms of the up and downness of the income, but it's not your own business.
How to market myself. And that's really important because it's our job to acquire leads. Personal trainers are another great example. I know so many people who train at the gym and they love working with a personal trainer. And I know that industry because my brother-in-law owns a gym. Personal trainers, they don't want to necessarily always go out and acquire new customers. They just want to train people. They just love working out. But part of you have to keep your client base coming in. You have to go out there. You have to talk about how you help so-and-so get results. Otherwise, you're not going to have any clients to train, which means you're not going to be bringing in a paycheck. So again,
a little aside, if you're trying to figure out whether you should have your own business or whether you should just work for someone else doing something that you like. So let's say that you really like dogs and you're trying to decide whether you're going to start a dog grooming business or whether you're going to work for a dog groomer grooming dogs. I would say besides like startup costs and stuff, a lot of business ownership is managing a lot of different little stupid details. Like I had to renew our company's insurance last week and it crept up. So I tried to get another quote and the other quotes were all coming back higher. So I just renewed my policy. So that was like 2 hours between corresponding with the insurance person, corresponding with the other insurance person, and then making sure it got paid. I spend time on things like accounts receivable, making sure clients are getting bills and paying their bills. I spend time calling somebody for a third time because their domain is going to expire and they haven't given me an up-to-date credit card and I don't want their website to go offline. I spend a lot of time like doing a bunch of dumb shit that is required for our business to run. But if I just like really liked making Instagram reels and I just wanted to do that all day, I would go work for a company that would pay me to do that. But if you're okay with dealing with minutia and a bunch of details that actually have nothing to do with the work that you're doing all day, you'll be fine in business ownership. I joke with people that I'm okay at a lot of stuff, and that's why I run a business. It's not all like rainbows and unicorns, and I'm not somebody who thinks everybody should be self-employed. I'm just saying that the amount of time I spend per day dealing with dumb stuff is a lot higher than most people think it is. And sales is part of that too, but it's a lot of other stuff as well. So just if you really like doing something and just want to specialize in it, I say just go work for someone else if you can swing it. But yeah, business ownership is not as fun sometimes as you think it would be or as exciting.
So again, you always have to be thinking part of my job is always marketing yourself and your services. The second thing is maybe you only ever use social media for personal use.
Mhm.
So right now you might be saying, I have a personal page, I have a personal Instagram, I post a lot of pictures of my kids, maybe your dog, maybe the trips you go on, maybe just random things. And now all of a sudden I'm asking you to start thinking about this differently. And so that's a problem, right? We have to divorce ourselves from the way that we used social media before. We no longer look at it as a pastime, something that we just scroll to see what people are up to. This is now a tool.
It's now your job. It's going to be less fun. I have people tell me sometimes, they're like, Nicole, my 19-year-old, they're a digital native. They grew up with Instagram. So they're going to help me with my Instagram account. And I'm like, okay, if you think that a 19-year-old who has never run a business before can run your business Instagram better than I can, by all means. But yes, using something personally is different than using it for business. I'm not saying it's completely different, but it's different enough. So I appreciate her bringing this up.
This is now a tool to bring you new leads, to bring you new customers, right? So we have to change that mindset and get out of the fact that this is my personal page. The third thing is business owners sometimes struggle with the overwhelm of, I need to learn a new business. So I need to learn all the insurance policies. I need to learn how to have.
I'm not an expert, but I don't think you need to buy insurance for your network marketing company. You're a 1099 worker. Body's insurance should cover you. I haven't read their agreement, so that might not be true. But for us, like we have for both the co-working spaces, I have $1 million liability policy. So that way, if like someone walked in here and let's say they tripped and broke their ankle and decided to sue me or something, like we're covered. Obviously, we have furniture and we have technology and stuff that if there was a fire or something that would need to be replaced. So that's why we have insurance. And then in terms of the marketing company, I have liability insurance for the company, same idea, right? Breaking Even also owns technology and, computers and stuff like that. And then I have workers' comp insurance for my employees, and Breaking Even is the only company that has employees. So I have workers' comp. So if something happens to one of my staff members and that they have to recover from an injury, that we have insurance for that. So that's why I have insurance. I don't know what insurance she's talking about for her network marketing company, but
How to have conversations. I need to learn how to sign somebody up, right? I need to learn that process. And at the same time, while I'm learning this new skill, I have to simultaneously be marketing my business on social media. So we're not stuck with one thing we're learning. We're actually given two things that we need to learn at the same time. And if we're not strong in the mindset that, listen, everybody starts at ground zero and everybody starts with zero knowledge, and we have to give ourselves grace through that learning period, a lot of people actually quit because it's too overwhelming. So what I want you to remember is that I'm not going to ask you to master the whole thing at once. I'm going to ask you to do little bite sizes. All right.
yeah, I mean, this is really comparable to like starting a new job, right? Like you're not only learning about the specific parts of your job, but you're also learning like the company's policies and stuff like that. Or like you go to college and you're going to the class and you're learning specific things in your college classes, but you're also learning how college works. So sometimes there's these intense periods of learning. With college, within the first few weeks, you figure out that this professor lectures and covers everything that's in the chapters that you read. So you can either go to class or you can read chapters and you're going to get the notes by doing one of those things. And then you learn that, oh, this other professor, they gave you supplementary reading, but they never reference it. So you don't actually have to do the supplementary reading. Same with your job, right? Within the first month or so of your job, you're like, okay, cool. I spend a lot of time making this report and absolutely nobody reads it. I'm going to take out parts of this report and see if anybody notices. That's what I did at my old job. And I eventually cut down this stupid report I was spending 6 hours a week making. I cut it down to 1 hour and everybody liked it better. So over time, you just learn how to be more efficient about it. But at first, any sort of new job or new environment is a bit like drinking from the fire hose. Like it's just gonna be. So you just have to accept that for a month or so, you're gonna be a little overwhelmed.
And I want you to keep in mind that the more you practice, the more that social media becomes it becomes a habit. And what happens when something becomes a habit, we do it without even thinking. It takes less time. All right. We just look at this as a tool. So I want you to commit for an entire year of consistently showing up on your social media, because that's how we create new habits. It's consistency over time.
I think you could just commit to 6 months and also see a difference. You'll have to collect data before, right? Okay, what did it look like before month 1? And then what does it look like at month 6? Is there more engagement? Is there an increase in followers? Is there more people clicking through to my website? You should be able to see a difference. You might be able to see it in 3 months, but you'll definitely see it in 6 months. I don't think you have to do it for a whole year, but if you really want to commit to a whole year, go for it. But I just think you'll see the results sooner than that.
Time is going to produce results. And then the last one is we're comparing ourselves. All right. So if you are in the Beachbody network, maybe you're comparing yourselves to
You mean body?
those people that are in the top 10, and you're like, wow, they have 100,000 followers. Oh,
Could you say that again?
sorry, my Siri is talking to me. But you have 100,000 followers and they're getting 20 new customers a month. Or you're looking at Simon and you're seeing the amount of engagement he gets on his TikTok and you're thinking, holy crap, where do I don't even know how to make a TikTok, right? Or you're looking at the person in Sabika that's been doing it for 20 years and all they have to do is make one post and they can sell an entire product line. And so what happens
Is there someone who can make one post and sell an entire product line? I don't know. That sounds like an exaggeration, but
is we start to compare ourselves. And when we compare ourselves to where other people are at, it actually steals our creativity.
comparison is the thief of joy. Rachel Hollis, who probably stole it from someone else.
All right. One thing that I have always, and we're going to talk a little bit about, is just knowing why you do what you do and what you bring to the table that's different. So let me just say that again. Instead of comparing ourselves and saying, wow, she's really good at her physical transformation is amazing. She's lost 100 pounds. I don't have those results. Instead of us saying, look at her, she's so much better at it, or I'm not where she is. Instead, we look at ourselves and say, what can I bring to the table? What is the things I'm passionate about? Do you remember at the beginning, right, where I said about, what did I say at the very, sorry, I just had like a total moment. Oh, at the very beginning, I wanted to teach other people how to eat better. And so that was my gift. That was what I brought to the table. It was, I'm going to show up on social media and I'm going to talk about nutrition. And I'm going to talk about food. And so I'm going to share lots of recipes and clean eating recipes for my kids. Where the candle maker, she's not making just any candle. She's making candles that are non-toxic. They're clean, they're safe burning. She's very passionate, not just about candles, but about non-toxic living. And so that's your unique spin. So where you're at right now, the business that you run, why do you do what you do? Why do you do it?
Your why should make you cry.
What is that one thing that you bring to the table that makes you unique and different? What's your angle? All right. So I want you to be thinking about that.
I appreciate that she calls it an angle rather than what's your personal story? What touches your heart? She's like, what's your angle? I appreciate that.
Because we're going
It
to
is
come
an angle.
back to that again as we start to talk about content. Okay. So here's the thing. How do we solve all these?
Okay, we are 19 minutes into an hour-long presentation. We just learned that we have some problems with social media and her background. That's what we've learned so far.
These problems. All right. The way that we solve the problems when it comes to social media and marketing is we have to say to ourselves, we have to really change our mindset. And that is honestly the very first step. It is changing the way that you think about it. So, number one, no matter where you are right now, you
Oh, is the underline a little bit messed up because the underline also includes the space after the word? Yes. Yes, it is.
you are perfectly equipped to make an impact today. If you have 0 followers, if you have 0 engagement on Facebook or Instagram, if you just started your account right before you got on this call, or if you've been doing this for a couple of years and you're just now moving into the online space, it doesn't matter if so and so has 100,000 followers and they're getting lots of engagement. I want you to know that you have a story that people need to hear.
Yeah, but if you have no followers, no one's going to engage with it. And acting like you can have a similar impact to someone who has 100,000 followers, it's just not setting someone up for a realistic view of the outcomes they're gonna get.
And a lot of times, what I've found is that people want to watch the journey. They want to watch you step into the business owner that you, in your mind, that vision for what you want, they want to watch that happen. So for me, when I started out with just posting,
Do they? I feel like when I see an announcement on social media and it's, "I joined a company," I am immediately not interested. Who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe those posts get a lot of engagement, but I think most people see those posts and they're like, "Oh crap, we're about to just get inundated with marketing messages because we follow you."
on social media every single day, sharing my health and wellness journey. Over time, as I shared, as I added value and gave free advice, as people watched me physically go through the transformation, as I publicly put a stake in the ground and said, I'm going to be top in industry, you can either sit on the sidelines and watch, or you can join my team because we're going to the top. I was like, this train's leaving the station. You can either get on or we're out without you. And because I showed up and spoke that kind of confidence from day one, what ended up happening is I stepped into a position of leadership. I stepped into a position of influence. And
I'm going to do a false equivalency here. So, for example, like you'll hear these stories online and it'll be like, my parents met in a bar and they were married 48 hours later. And here they are, 53 years married and still so happy, right? Now, you could hear that and say, oh, wow, that's so crazy that happened. Maybe this happens more often than I think. Or you could say, you know what? For every one of those stories, there's 500 other stories of people who got married very quickly, were like, "Oh, crap," and then got divorced, and we just don't hear about them. So, I think her being like, "I'm going to the top." Yeah, I mean, that worked out for you, but how many other people said the exact same thing and it just didn't work out for them, and we just don't hear about it. So, anyway, just throwing that out there.
you know what? It was very messy. It wasn't perfect. It was very imperfect. And I firmly believe this, that imperfect action is way better than perfect inaction.
Yeah, I agree with this. I think a lot of people wait until their logo's been redesigned or until they hire that new person before they do something. And I think there's something to be said for just carrying on. Yeah, I agree.
If you sit here right now and you say, I can't post on social until I have the right picture and the perfect wording and the right call to action, you will sit there and stare at that post and analyze it, and you'll never post.
Yep.
Right? Instead, don't worry about it being perfect. Worry about showing up and just saying, I'm going to learn through my action. That is how I became good at what I do. I showed up and said, I showed up and I said, I'm running this group. And if you want to be a part, if you're looking to lose 10 pounds, come join this group. I didn't know how it was going to go. I'd never led a group before, but I was willing to put myself out there. I never ran an online party before or hosted a live webinar, but I just put it out there. I said, I'm going to do it. I have an idea for it. Let's see what happens. That is how I figured it out. It was through.
I'm also going to throw out there that if there's some technical thing that's holding you up, that there are people who are willing to help you. So, for example, if you wanted to hire a virtual producer to help you run your online event, they could help you figure out the timing and sort of what things you need to make it successful. They could be helping you get your camera set up or be in your comments, answering people's questions. So you can get help for certain technical parts of these tasks if that intimidates you. Just know that that's a resource, okay? That there are people who do this kind of thing for a living. And so if the idea of hitting the go live button terrifies you because you're not sure how it's going to go, why not hire some help for the first live that you do, just to make sure that you have support where you need it.
Was through trial and error in the process. So I ask you, as you're going through the process of understanding social media, that you think the exact same way. All right. So mindset is key. We just have to get out of that mindset of I have to wait until it's perfect before. No, we're going to go. And you have to, because perfectionism, and I don't know if you know this, but perfectionism actually is an avoidance tactic. It is actually a way to avoid taking action. We overthink it, we overanalyze, we're so afraid we'll be judged if something isn't perfect. And so it's just a way for us to avoid. And so I've just learned that if I use the good old Mel Robbins, who isn't a great author, she wrote the book, The 5-Second Rule. And so I just give it the
I roll to Mel Robbins. I don't know how you can have a whole book that says, I count down from 5. I used to do this when I was a kid and I didn't want to get out of bed. I'd be like, okay, you're going to get up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you get up. I don't get how this woman wrote a whole book about this and made money on it, but here we are.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I just post and go. All right. That's how I've been able to confidently make steps even when I didn't quite feel ready. Okay. All right. So confidence is number 2. We need to set goals. So I want you to think about this.
Okay. And as we're thinking about the things she's telling us to think about, I want you to look at this picture, and I've been trying to figure out if it's AI generated because something feels off about it. Let me know what you think, though.
You have business goals. All right. So in the comments in February, what are your business goals? Do you have a sales goal? I need to sign up this amount of clients, or I'm going to make X amount of dollars in revenue. Do you have a, I'm going to bring on this amount of team members? Do you have a, I need to sell X amount of product? Do you know that most business owners I work with, when I ask them what their goals are for the month, they don't have goals. They don't have specific goals. They're like,
If you're in a network marketing company and your job is to recruit people and your job is to sell products, right? So those are your 2 jobs, but your main job is to recruit people. So you could be like, I'm going to recruit 5 new people a month, and you could spend the next 2 months working your ass off, and then you only sign up 2 people per month. After the second month of only signing up 2 people when your goal is 5, you're not going to really want to set goals anymore. So I think part of it is that like your goal could be pretty disheartening if you continuously don't reach it despite how hard you're working. And then I think the other reason why network marketing people don't have goals is so much stuff is out of your control. Like you have literally hundreds of thousands of other people selling the exact same product for the exact same price that you are. And if they have a bigger audience than you do, or you're just starting off, it can feel really daunting to try to compete with that. So I can understand why network marketing people don't necessarily have goals because of those 2 reasons. But
I just want to make some money. I just want to
well,
sell some product. And so
yeah, and at a certain point, like if they've been in for 6 months and they've been paying some fee every month to get their products or something, and they've been losing money, I can see where they get to the point like 6 months in where they're like, yeah, what's my goal? My goal is to just make some money. I get why they get to that point.
So I'll say, how much money do you want to make?
I want to make $1 million a day. Okay. Like, how much money do you want to make? I want to make a ton of money. Let's just pretend it's $1 million a day. How would you advise me on that?
And then they don't really know, or I want more success. Well, what is more success?
I'm currently losing money in my network marketing company. So more success would be not losing money, would be making enough money that I'm not losing money.
I noticed nobody's putting their goals in the comments. So that either means
You didn't ask people to put their goals in the comments. You literally didn't say that out loud. So I don't know why people would volunteer their goals without you asking them to.
have goals, right? Or you're afraid to share them. So I want to make sure that
Are you afraid to share them, or did you just not ask people to put their goals in? I don't remember. Maybe she just did and I wasn't paying attention, but I don't know. It helps to ask people to do the thing you want them to do.
you recognize, okay, I need to set goals. Because when we're talking about social media, remember, social media is a tool. Social media is not over here as a marketing strategy, right? And then your business is over here. So I want you to think about your social media supports your business goals.
I really like her visualization here about the social media, like being a support system underneath the goals of your business. I think this is a good analogy,
All
actually.
right. So if I'm saying I'm going to sign up 3 new coaches in the month of February, that means that my social media is going to support me signing up 3 new coaches to my team.
Yeah.
So when we get to the part where we're actually planning our weekly content, we're making sure that our content is aligned to what we want to sell. If you want to find 3 customers a month and I will make $500 a month in sales, your focus is I need to sign up 3 new customers, right? So now everything you're creating is directed towards finding those 3 customers. Just give you a little pro tip. If you want to find 3 new customers, that means you want to talk to 30 people, 30.
Okay, so 10% closing rate, that seems low. I don't know. If you sell something for a living and you feel comfortable sharing what your closing rate is and what industry you're in, feel free. I feel like mine is higher than that, but maybe it's because I'm only counting people that I've had a meeting with and sent a proposal to, and then how many people signed on after that. She basically is saying that you have to talk to 30 people to sign up 3. So if a month has 30 days in it, you're supposed to be having maybe a pretty in-depth conversation with one person per day, one new person per day. And I don't know how realistic that is. In particular, if you think that you might want to take weekends off, now suddenly you're talking to 2 people a day, but you have to find them before you talk to them. I don't know, this seems like an awful lot of work to get 3 customers, but I guess it depends how much they pay you, but
30 new leads. 1 out of every 10 says yes. That tells you, okay, I need to step up my social game. So, number 2, you got to set goals. All right. Goals are big and important. The next thing that we need to do, and I do this every single month, is, and I use the Make Chic Happen Planner.
there's the planner in the flesh, guys. I'm gonna pause it when she holds it up so you understand how big this thing is.
Which is a product that I developed with my business partner, Katie. We talked about that at the beginning. But every single month, I sit down with my plan.
Look how big that book is. It's like a couple inches thick and it's 8.5 by 11. Picture like carrying that around to multiple locations per day. I guess if you run your entire business from home and you always sit at your kitchen table to work and can just leave it there, maybe, but I don't know. I don't think this notebook is super practical for most people, but I don't know if it seems like some people like it. So I guess there's a planner for everybody out there.
Planner, right? And you have your tabs and you have your blank calendar section. And if you don't have the planner, that's okay. You can print off on the computer a monthly calendar. Okay. And
You can also just go to the bookstore and look for a 2024 or whatever year where you're watching this planner and probably buy one that has, I don't know, cute pictures of dogs in it or something for like 15 or 20 bucks.
so on this monthly calendar, the very first thing that you need to do, and
Especially if you're willing to wait till the end of January or something to buy it, because then it's really hard to sell a 2024 planner when a month of 2024 is already gone. So you can probably get it for even cheaper than that if you are willing to wait a month.
I always say it's like a funnel. You have to look at the month first. All right. So if I want to bring in 3 new customers, I need to look at the whole month. Then I need to drill it down into what I'm going to do during the week in order to get those customers. And then I need to drill it down to what am I going to do today?
Okay.
All right. And then your final level is what am I going to do today? And then I actually write it on my time blocker so I know what I'm doing during the times of the day. Does that make sense? But we can't just start with our
I don't know. I don't think you necessarily have to time block unless you're time blocking other things too. And you're just trying to plan your week with your sort of personal obligations and your business obligations together. I could see having blocks of time for that. But blocking time just for social media seems silly because there's probably other things you have to build into your day too.
Our time blocker and say, what am I going to do today if we don't know what the goal is for the month? Okay. So the very first thing we do is we look at our month at a glance. And I want to spend more time talking about how to write content today.
So if this is what the planner looks like, having a month view and then having your goals written on the side as you're planning your month, and then your monthly goal written on the top of the sheet. I don't think that's hard to replicate in another planner, but
so I'm going to just give
there's
you
probably something more to it than that, I'm guessing. But if this is like a sample page, I don't know. I was expecting something a little bit more detailed, but
a high level of this.
okay.
And if you own the
She
Make
said high level of this. So I'm guessing she drills down maybe in other pages.
Chic Happen Planner, we do free trainings when you purchase the planner. So
if I bought a planner for $58 that was really specific, I would hope there was some guidance on how to use it.
Have access. I see some of you said you love the planner. There are, Denise, a lot of differences actually in the second edition to the third edition.
Look how big that is. That's so big.
Changes that we did in there. So you want to look at your month, and what you want to say is, okay, in my month, and I have December because I created this in December. I always look at number one, what are going to be some of the obstacles that are going to prevent me from getting to the number of customers I want to sign up in the month.
I appreciate she's built in things that are personally important to her into her calendar. I think a lot of these people would be like, you need to be working in your business every day. I appreciate that she's like, nope, there's certain days I'm not going to work in my business. I respect that.
So I always look high level first. And I say, and this was December. So it was like, I'm going to go see lights at Christmas time with my family, or we've got a party, or the boys have basketball, or it's an actual holiday. So we're not even going to be in the office. So we have to look at the month as a whole and say, when do I want to achieve my goal by? Do you know what's the date that you want to sign or find your 3 customers this month? Is it the 28th of February, or is it the 20th of February? If you're going on vacation at the end of the month, you don't want to wait until the day before you leave for vacation to close the sales for the month. So I use this monthly calendar example.
She has to hold it with 2 hands. It's so substantial.
To actually plan out the high level. So I know is exactly when I want to hit my goals by, and what that deadline is, and what other potential obstacles will get in the way. This really guides the next part. And the next part of what we talk about is actually going into the content planning. So when we think about our weekly game plan, and we go into this next part, now I say, all right, it is February 14th. And I take when I look at my calendar
I like that it's February 14th and she's wearing a love sweater. I appreciate that she's on theme here.
At a glance, and I look at the month of February, I look at it and I say, okay, what am I marketing this week? And I'm looking down because I'm looking at my calendar right now. And I'm saying, okay, right now I have open enrollment for my course. And I know that this week, my main focus is building trust, building credibility, and getting people to sign up for our Chic Influencer social media course.
I should have checked how much this cost, but
I know that our cart closes on Sunday, which means I've got 6 days.
Okay, so the reason maybe I didn't see it is the cart closed on Sunday after the 14th, and I'm recording this in March, so I clearly missed it. If you're going to do online classes, she's doing what's called the launch model, which is that you have like a deadline. And so it creates this sort of artificial scarcity. Oh, you only have a week to sign up, or you only have a few days to sign up. And the thing is, if you just had the course recorded, you could just sell it in an ongoing way. I guess the only reason to do it this way is if you wanted a group of people to go through the course together. They call it a cohort, or you have a group of people that are going through the course at the same time, and then they have other people they can talk to about the course. And then when you have a Q&A, you have multiple people asking questions. So maybe that's why, but you do not have to, if you sell courses or programs or anything like that, you do not have to use this launch model. This whole, we have to do a bunch of marketing and get people in before it closes. You don't have to do it that way. That's just one way of doing it.
Days to get all of the sales that I want to sign up in this week. So now, with that in mind, I want you to ask yourself the same question. By Sunday, which Sunday would be the 20th, what will you have accomplished? Will you have signed up 1 out of the 3 customers? Will you have signed up 2, Shona, out of the 3?
How will we know? Let's say that I set up meetings with 20 people and theoretically one of them it could say yes out of the 10. If I just meet with 20 people, can I just assume that 2 of them are gonna sign up? I can't because it's actually not a certain thing. I could have no people sign up. I could have 5 people sign up. If it's just a numbers game and it's okay, I have to meet with 10 people for every one person I'm gonna sign up, that's the one thing we do have control over, unfortunately.
3 coaches that you wanted to bring in for the month, right? So now you're beginning to say, what's my 1-week game plan? And what I do is I write that down on the top of my page when it comes to my social media plan. So if we get this is the page, right?
Okay, so this is the page. It looks like a sort of 2-page, like, open layout, and we're seeing kind of one half on one side and one half on the other. So you have a goal for the week and you fill it in, and then there is all the days of the week, and it has Facebook and Instagram posts. It has something that says thumbprint sticker on the top. I don't know what that means. On top of each day, there's thumbprint sticker, and then it says Facebook and Instagram. And then it says CTA, CTT. I don't know what CTT is. I guess she'll tell us in a second. And then you have Facebook and Instagram stories. So every day you're doing a Facebook and Instagram post. Maybe it's the same post, maybe it's different post. And then you have, is there certain calls to action for the post? Maybe the T is a tag. And then Facebook and Instagram stories. So you're going to post an in-feed post and a story every single day. And according to this calendar, only Facebook and Instagram exist. There's no TikTok, there's no Pinterest, there's no Google Business, there's no other social media sites except Facebook and Instagram.
Right, where we actually look at our weekly plan. So I write my goal right up here. You can see that where it says my goal for this week. I write that in the top right. And now I'm going to start to brainstorm the social media content that is going to support me in getting to my business goal for the week. All right. So when it comes to social media, and this might be something where in the past, I don't know how many of you just wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, Melanie says I got to post on social media today. So what am I going to post? And so we throw up a motivational quote because we just want to check off the box to say, I did my part of being consistent on social media. Or maybe we see somebody else and they posted a really good reel. And so we say, all right, great. I can make the same kind of reel. And we just throw it up and we check off the box. Although it has absolutely nothing to do with who we are, what our business goals are, and what we're trying to accomplish. But when we look at it from this angle, we start to think, what's my end goal? I need to sign up clients. So how is that going to support it? So I look at it this way. This is the way that I do it. So if you're somebody that needs a little more structure, this will really help you out. We call it the thumbprint method. All right. And so the thumbprint method is basically this. When you look at your social media, right, you are thinking about a few things. You have what we call brand pillars, and usually you have about 4 of them. And we say you have about 4 thumbprints. So and I'll give you the example of a bakery. If I were to go to my app.
So I saw this the first time. I think a brand pillar or a content pillar and a thumbprint, I think those are all the same thing. So I don't know why she feels like she has to use a completely different word to describe this very established thing in marketing, but
Absolute all-time favorite bakery, right? And I'm going to say it's Oakmont Bakery. It's here in Pittsburgh and it is delightful. And I walk in and I love their thumbprint cookies. That is the one thing I go for every single time that I'm in there. And I walk in, I go up to the counter, I order my thumbprints, but then I also grab a scone and I grab some muffins for the boys. And maybe I get a lady lock, right? I'm going to take some other things because I came into the bakery.
I love that she has a delightful bakery and I love that she enjoys multiple treats from it.
That's your social media. When people come to your social, there's typically one thing that really draws them in. Like Oakmont Bakery draws me in for the thumbprint cookie. But once I get into Oakmont and get my thumbprints, notice I'm intrigued by the other things that are in the case. That's what happens when people come to your social. They may
I do like this story and this analogy. I just don't know if she has to call it the thumbprint method, but
come into your social media because you are incredible at sharing styling tips for your Sabika jewelry. And they see every single week that you share daytime looks, evening looks, right? Maybe you talk about
I saw a meme last week sometime, and it was something to the effect of reading fashion magazines when I was a teenager. I felt like that I was going to transition from a day look to an evening look a lot more often than I actually do now. But her little comment there just reminded me of that.
talk about fashion for jewelry for different kinds of people. Or maybe you're health and fitness industry and you're sharing toddler mom tips. So people, they come to your page because every week they know on Tuesday, it's Toddler Tuesday. And they know that they're going to get exercises that their toddler can do alongside of you. So they come back for that. But while they're there checking out your Toddler Tuesday workouts, they check your post out. They look at other things and then they see, oh, she runs these accountability groups, or, oh, what is that shake that she drinks? And so they start to say, they get curious.
I don't think anyone is going to ask what shake you're drinking. I think we're all so used to people trying to shill us weird shakes or poop tea or something that if I see someone drinking something, I'm not going to ask them about it because I'm just really worried how that conversation is going to go.
Curious about the other things that you do. Even though they came in for Toddler Tuesday, they stick around because you have other things to offer. And before you know it, they're showing up in your inbox asking about these online accountability groups that you run. Or maybe, Sarah, she loves your motivational quotes that you give out. She comes, she reads your motivational quotes every single week, but then she starts to get curious about what you do. She sees that you sell insurance. She's, what do you do that you're able to create this kind of income?
Yes, I ask strangers all the time, how are you able to create this kind of income? I feel like I would only ask someone like once I got to know them about like their financial situation, but maybe that's just me.
And then she starts to ask questions because she also doesn't love her job and is looking for a way to create additional income. So your thumbprint is the thing that brings people in the door. It's your consistent message. So what I want you to think about.
Okay, but there are, it looks like 4 content pillars here. There's business content, which is the blue ones. There is the light gray ones, which is product, service, or experience. So like about a product, service, or experience in your business. It looks like there's topic that makes you stand out and second topic that makes you stand out. Is the thumbprint method the fact that there are those 4 separate messages that support your business on social media?
Is on social media, what are those things? What are those thumbprints that people come to your page for? So if I just give you a formula to follow, we have it, it's blue, it's light gray, it's this maroon color, and then we have a darker gray color. All right, those are your 4 thumbprints. And you'll notice in the Make Chic Happen planner, we actually have thumbprint stickers so that you can actually mark off your thumbprints throughout the week so that you know where your posts fall in that mix. So it does.
Okay, so the sticker thing is cute. I'm a little bit curious how they work, but also you could achieve the same thing by having on top of Monday, there'd be a blank space and you would put in business content or you would put in topic 1 or something like that. I feel like you could achieve the same thing just writing it versus having a sticker, but stickers are more fun. So
it doesn't have to be exactly the way that I have it laid out, but I want you to think about it. When it comes to your business, what do you do that's unique and different? When you talk about your business opportunity, if that is a part, if you're in direct sales or you can grow a team, ask yourself, what's my stance on how I do business? So let's walk through maybe a couple of examples.
that would be great.
To business, when people come to my Instagram account, right? And they see me, I'm always going to talk about business in terms of when you join my team, I'm going to give you a systematic, duplicatable system and process that is going to help you to build your online health and wellness business. All right. I'm going to talk about how we are a CEO mindset. We are go-getters, right? We work hard, but we also love our family. So you're always going to see me share business content that really talks about being systematic, which is why I've created the Make She Happen Planner, which is why I do time blocking. You're going to see me share how I time block, 4 ways to manage your time so you can get the most done without having mom guilt about building.
Okay, I'm guessing time blocking is one of the 4 ways that she uses to manage her time, but time blocking is not hard as a concept. It's this idea that you set aside blocks of time to do certain things that you need doing. So, for example, you might time block certain times of the week that you're doing meal prep, or certain times of the week that you're going to be answering emails or having meetings or something. So I lightly time block because honestly, my day, I just never quite know how it's going to go. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you'll notice if you go try to schedule a consultation with me, either one of those days, you can't. And it's because I actually block out those days so that I can do deep work without being interrupted. If I know that there's a meeting at noon and I'm working, I can't really get lost in my work because I'm like, there's a meeting at noon, there's a meeting at noon, there's a meeting at noon. There's that. But also, if I want to like have a medical appointment or get a haircut or something, I know that those 2 days are completely open. So I like to keep 2 days a week open. It means the other 3 days of the week suck in terms of I have a lot more meetings, but it's worth it to keep those 2 days free for me. Your time blocking might be different. Maybe Wednesdays are typically an early release day for your kids. So maybe you're like, okay, I'm not going to do anything that's really in depth, but maybe I'm going to spend 2 hours in the morning answering emails and I'm going to spend 1 hour scheduling meetings for the rest of the week. So I can only work 3 hours in the morning on Wednesdays before I have to pick my kids up from school. So that's the idea of time blocking, is just thinking through like, okay, what does a typical week look like? And how will all these things I have to do, how will they fit in? And then by blocking off multiple hours of time, you're not constantly switching back and forth between tasks. So you end up being more efficient. So I'm not sure why like she would do a whole training on time blocking because I feel like I just explained it in like 2 minutes, but I guess she has multiple ways to manage your time. Like time blocking is just one of the 4, but it works pretty well for me.
Building your business while raising your kids. Okay. So you think about why you do business, right? And what it is like, what's your unique spin? Okay. The second thing is product, service, or experience. If you, again, are in the industry of candles, we go back to the candle, right? So if I'm selling candles this week, what am I going to talk about? I'm probably going to talk about,
If you had a candle company, wouldn't you be consistently selling candles? So maybe you'd want to talk about like the different products in your product line. Maybe you'd want to talk about the different smells you have. Maybe you'd want to talk about the smells you're thinking of developing. Maybe you'd want to talk about when you'd use a votive candle versus when you'd use a stick candle. I feel like you're always going to be talking about candles if you sell candles, if that is your product. So you would be talking about them on her plane here. You'd be talking about them twice a week.
how what are the ingredients you should look for when buying non-toxic candles. And so I may
Okay.
create an Instagram reel that says, buy this, not that. Stay away from these ingredients, right? I may say, buy this product instead. So I may talk about the features and the benefits of why my product is the best product on the market. Okay. If you are, again, health and wellness and you're selling Shakeology, you may say, when you're looking for a superfood shake, these are the things you want to be careful. You want to be careful of added ingredients. Like maybe you go out and you do some research and talk about like fillers and,
If you're selling a product like a high protein shake, wouldn't one of the first things you do be research what else is on the market and understand how your product is different and ideally better than the other products on the market? I feel like that's a very basic sales thing to have done. So I don't know why this research wouldn't have been done before.
extra sugars and hidden things. And you can do reels where it's like, these are the things you want to stay away from. And maybe at the end, it's Shakeology and you say, this is what you should drink. Again,
Oh my God. I don't know if you've ever tried Shakeology, but it's awful. I had a friend before I knew what MLMs were. This was like almost 10 years ago at this point, and she was selling Shakeology and she gave me a couple of samples. My problem with most protein powders is they taste chemically to me. And I found one that I find tastes less chemically. It's called Kajava. There is no affiliate link in this description, but it's vegan and 25 grams of protein per serving. But yeah, if you're looking for protein powder, probably Shakeology is not it because it's really expensive and also it tastes awful.
You're thinking about, how do I get people, how do I educate them? That's very educational, right? Wednesday, it might be a topic that makes you stand out. So for me, something that I love talking about is fashion. You may love talking about hiking and going outdoors. So your social media does need to connect people to you a little bit. So they need to know what your interests are.
So I will say this advice. She said at the beginning that this social media advice would be applicable to you whether you ran a real estate company or whether you had a brick and mortar store or whether you did network marketing. I will say if you run a more traditional business that has like more than you as an employee, I don't think people care as much about the personal stuff that you're into. Like, you probably want to maybe talk about if your business, like, donates money regularly to a local charity, or you sponsored the local little league team or something like that. I could see wanting to talk about that. Or if you wanted to talk about things your employees were up to that you got their permission first, that you were proud of, you'd talk about that. But I feel like me talking about me personally on our business social media is not it. And listen, I'm not saying I don't post the occasional Throwback Thursday picture, and I always get permission from other people who aren't me. I wouldn't just throw up a picture of like Ben or Jessica or Jane without asking them expressly if it was okay. But in general, people don't care what I, Nicole, am into personally. That's what I have my personal social media for. So I think this is applicable, this advice she's giving, if you are a solo business and you are a salesperson and people building a personal relationship with you as part of you selling them something.
Are. So if you're somebody that loves the outdoors and you love hiking, and once a week you go hiking with your kids, then maybe that day is the day you talk about the trail that you're on, how being in nature helps you to clear your mind, how you're more creative when you take time for yourself. By you talking about something that makes you stand out, it will connect you to other people who also like hiking. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that the things you enjoy, you talk about. On my social, I talk about shopping. I talk about how that's my favorite sort of stress relief and decompression kind of technique.
Okay, I just have to ask. I find shopping overwhelming a little bit, maybe overstimulating might be the right word. And I've started wearing like headphones in the grocery store and stuff, and I find it really cuts down on the amount of sensory input that I'm getting, which kind of relaxes me a little bit. If you like shopping, can you just tell me what you like about shopping? I'm open to like understanding what that is. I just, like I said, as someone who finds it stressful and not fun, I'm just be curious what people liked about it. So just if you like shopping and you want to comment, I'd be just curious.
And I talk about that. And what do? I actually do attract and connect to other people who enjoy shopping as well. Okay. So again, then we go to the Thursday. Thursday might be another topic that makes you stand out. That for me, again, is my husband and I love making different cocktails. And Fridays is always our fun night. And we used to do this almost every Friday, and we would do cleaned up cocktail recipes. People would come back.
I was curious what cleaned up cocktails was. Do you think it's alcohol free? Or do you think it's adding some kind of like nutritional component to the cocktail? So, for example, oh, we add a vitamin C shot to this cocktail and it makes it healthier. Or is it just the fact that it's made without alcohol? That's what I'm curious about.
Every single Friday to see our cleaned up cocktail recipe. They looked forward to Matt and I doing it together. They actually would.
I'm just going to say this. If you are involving other people in your marketing, in particular, if it's your family, your friends too, but like people you live with are probably going to be more in the line of fire, so to speak. You should be cautious and considerate about that. Kids, if they're too young to consent or they don't understand what it means, like, you posting a piece of content, they don't know that thousands of people are going to see that. They don't know that strangers could save that picture. Even if you put it up and they ask you to delete it a minute later, that it's too late. Everything on the internet's forever. Until they can like understand that, I feel like you should really hold off on posting content about your kids. If that makes me a wet blanket, so be it, but that's just how I feel about it. Or even like your partner might not want to be associated with selling anything or might be a more private person. So just be really mindful before you start involving people in your marketing, what that looks like to you, what that looks like to them, and if there's any lines that you need to draw in terms of maybe they only want to be seen if it's the back of their head in photos, like they don't want their face shown. Or maybe it's that they only want to come on once a year on your birthday, or whatever their lines are, just really respect them because we all have different levels of comfort with the internet and with our likeness being used. And you have to live with these people and you have to continue to have a relationship with them, whether this business lasts or not. Just preserve those relationships. I think it's important.
Make the recipe and then tag us in their stories, whether it was Facebook or Instagram. And so that became another thing that Matt and I enjoyed doing, but it was also a great connector and brought people back to us too. All right. And then we just rotate business content, topic that makes you stand out, product, service, and experience. So what I want you to do is I want you to take a step back and say, okay, what are the 4 thumbprints that I want to be known for, that I want.
But 2 of the thumbprints are already decided on, right? Business content is already a decided on thumbprint, and product, service, and experience is already a decided on thumbprint. Those are going to happen. The 2 we need to decide on are the 2 topics that make us stand out. So really, we only are picking 2.
People to actually come back and follow me for. What are those 4 things? And I want you to write those on a top of a sheet of notebook paper. And then underneath of each of those 4 topics, I want you to start listing ideas of posts that you could make that are related to that. Okay. Yeah. And I want them to have some variety. So do you see on this slide where it says, what is my purpose? I want you to say, as you're writing content ideas, I want you to say, all right, can I make sure that I have a variety of, can I inform my audience? So it's going to give advice. It might be 4 tips before signing up for this specific insurance policy. All right. Or it might be 4 things to consider before you start an exercise program, right? Or why you should buy from a small business. So I want you to think about sometimes
why you should buy from a small business and not a multi-million-dollar, multi-level marketing company.
Sometimes I'm informing, right? Sometimes I'm straight up entertaining. Sometimes I'm actually persuading people to buy. And sometimes I'm just sharing my thoughts.
I feel like this is confusing. I think what you should think about instead is worry about hitting these points as you're actually writing the specific caption or whatever, or in the working on the image that goes with whatever you're posting. So for example, product, service, and experience on Tuesday. Okay, for my co-working space. I want to talk about our phone booth. I want to talk about our conference room and how it's rentable by the hour. I want to talk about our monthly membership plans and the differences between them. I want to talk about people renting their private office. I want to talk about people renting a private office who don't do office work. Maybe they're massage therapists. Maybe they're other types of body workers. I want to make a post about how we have 24/7 access to the co-working space. I want to talk about safety measures that we have implemented in our co-working space, right? So I just list the things. And then as I'm crafting the actual ideas that are going to go with them, the couple of sentences that are going to go with the post, then I can look at what is the purpose of this. Okay, so maybe for the phone booth, my purpose is to entertain the audience with that. So maybe like it's someone's being silly in the phone booth, like to show off that it exists. Maybe my posts about our monthly memberships are to persuade my audience members to buy one of them. So maybe you figure that out at a different point, because you trying to come up with ideas is going to be hard with you also trying to consider the purpose of each of those ideas. So just get the ideas down and then worry about crafting messaging around them more specifically after the ideas are initially collected.
Thoughts on a specific topic. That's just more general. I'm sharing my opinion. Every time I create a post or a story, I am always asking myself, what is the purpose of what I'm about to share? Do I want people to buy something? Am I trying to position myself as an expert so they see me as the go-to person, right? What am I trying to do with that specific piece of content? Purpose is key, all right? The last thing on this slide is the recipe for high-performing content. Every time I write a post, I always follow this formula. This is key. And I'll share these slides with you as long as you registered for this. I'll make sure you get the email with the slides. But every time
I guess you could also just take screenshots of the slides if you wanted to. It's not like there's 45 slides or something. This, I think, is the fourth slide we've seen. So
I think about my content, I always say to myself, what's the purpose, which we talked about. The second thing I think to myself is the first sentence when I'm writing a post is the most important, because it's the first thing people are going to read. And it's either going to make them lean
I think the image or the video is most important. I think they're only going to read the caption if they like what they see.
in, or it's going to make them scroll on. I'm going to say that again. The very first line of your post is going to make people lean in and want to read more, or it's going to make them scroll past. So the first thing that you say needs to be an attention grabber. And the best way to measure if it's attention grabbing, when you go back and read the post before you actually hit post, does it catch your attention? Do you think, oh, I want to know more about these 4 tips. I want to know more about the advice that you have to offer. So bold tagline. Then you always have to emotionally connect with your followers. So that,
I don't know if you have to do that every single time. I think when I follow certain people on social media, if they're constantly like, here's this heartfelt story about this picture that I took, I find it personally a little bit over the top to do it for every single one. Also, just from a content creation standpoint, you constantly being like in an emotional, personal connection state, I think might be a little bit difficult to continuously maintain. I also think it's okay if you post a picture of someone in a Superman uniform standing in your co-working space's phone booth and call it good. I don't think it has to have a personal connection or story. I think people can be like, oh, that's kind of Clark Kent. I get it. He changed in a phone booth. That's funny.
that means you always want to say, and so if I'm talking about the reasons why I'm now a non-toxic candle maker, right? I'm going to actually say, I always used to get red and get a rash, or my nose used to get really stuffy every time I walked into a house that was burning candles. And I used to notice when I would burn Yankee candles or candles from the drugstore that I too would break out in a rash.
I was just in Korea 2 weeks ago and I should have taken a picture of it. I saw a giant ad for Yankee Candle and I thought, there's so many beautiful smelling things in this country. I do not know why you'd bring a Yankee Candle here, but oh, I should have taken a picture of that billboard. I remember just seeing it and being like, what's that doing here?
I couldn't understand why I always was just stuffed up. And it wasn't until I started to realize the connection between the household products and how they affect our body that I started to say, crap, I can't burn candles anymore. They're really bad for me. And I don't want to be ingesting things into my body that are making me break out, that are giving me a rash. But I do love just the comfort of burning a candle. And so I went on a quest to create my own non-toxic candles so that I could still enjoy the candles and not break out in a rash.
I don't know if this is like a fake story that she's telling us or she legitimately has a candle company. I'm curious now.
Obviously, I'd say that in a better way. And so I talk about, and so that's why I created the Mitro Candle Company, right? Non-toxic, safe for your kids, right? There's no parabens, no phthalates, no hormone disruptors, right?
It sounds like this is her company. I thought she literally just grabbed something off her desk to use it as an example. She was talking about, like, I would grab this Golden Girls mug to talk about a sample product to just grab something off my desk. But apparently, this might be her company.
You know that you are still enjoying the comfort of the candle without all the toxic ingredients. Purchase the candles from the link in my bio. Notice I talked about why I do it, right? I talked about my story. Toxic, safe for your kids, right? There's no parabens, no phthalates, no hormone disruptors, right? You know that you are still enjoying the comfort of the candle without all the toxic ingredients. Purchase the candles from the link in my bio. Notice I talked about why I do it, right? I talked about my story, how it originated. I talked about why I created the candles, and then I told people where they could go to buy it. You want to do the same thing in your
I don't think you have to do this every time. I'm just going to say it. I feel like that would feel really exhausting to continuously hear the entire story for every social media post you did.
business as well. You always at the end want to make sure that you don't leave people feeling, so what? I don't ever want to get to the end of a post that you've written and go, great, good for you. I'm glad you started that candle company. No, you got to tell me what to do next. Buy them. They're cheap. They're affordable. Send them to your friends for Valentine's Day. They make great Mother's Day gifts. I'm doing a 2-for-1 special. Visit the link in my bio to purchase your candles now. Limited quantities, right? Low stock, right?
You don't have to create urgency. You can also just tell people to buy the candle. I don't know. I feel like creating this false urgency, like people are just starting to see through it. And if you do it a lot, it reminds me of I used to work with this woman, and every time she sent an email, like a company wide email or even an email just to me, it would have a red flag, a high priority flag. After the third or fourth email she sent with the red flag, I was like, okay, nothing this person ever sends will be urgent. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm just kind of blind to it. I think if you constantly act like everything's out of stock and, oh my God, you have to buy it now, I think people are just going to get tired of it. But what do I know?
Hurry fast. So you want to have a call to action that gets people to click a link, to send you a private message for more information, right? That's really
If you want to say, hey, order by Friday for Valentine's shipping or great gift for mom, Mother's Day is coming up. If you want to help people like understand like the holidays or something, I would totally get it. But this whole like low stock, order now. I don't know. I don't know if that's it.
really important. At the end, you tell people what to do. Lastly, your image is important. Your image has to match what you're talking about. So if you're
Yeah.
talking about a really exciting time in your life, but your picture is a very serious face, right? But you're trying to portray something exciting that happened, it doesn't match. If you're talking about you just had your highest sales week ever and you post a picture of your kids, does that actually match? All right. So you want to make sure that the image you're choosing actually,
I don't know. Like you could also say that like in the story, in the book that you're going to write underneath this picture, maybe like this income is going to change your children's lives. And so that would tie it in. But again, I feel really weird posting pictures of kids in general. I feel icky about it. And I definitely feel super icky about using pictures of your kids to sell something.
matches the text that you're posting. The two need to go together. This is the recipe for high performing content. This sometimes, and I'll be 100% candid with you, there are times where I feel like I nailed it with the tagline, but then I didn't nail it with the call to action. And so I didn't generate the sales I wanted. Sometimes I feel like I've got a great image, but my text isn't that good and I didn't really get my message across.
Yeah. Also, you could have just done everything right and the algorithm didn't show it for whatever reason. There's a lot of factors that go into it, like maybe that there's timing. Or I remember there was one person's training, I forget what we were watching, and they were doing a live stream. I think it was Ray Higdon. And then January 6th started happening. So he lost a bunch of viewers and he was really annoyed that this attack on the Capitol was happening during his live stream. But like, there's just a lot of things you can't control. So even if you do write really good content or you make a really great video, sometimes it just doesn't land. And sometimes you'll spend 5 minutes making something that you think is stupid and it'll take off. There's some strategy to it, but some of it is random. I'm just going to say it.
So it is really about practice and consistency over time to get your message to stick. And the one thing that we teach is that if you sound like a broken record, you are doing it right.
Yeah, if you come up with a bunch of messaging, you are seeing every single message you put out. And so if you constantly are saying, "Hey, we have a co-working space, come be a member. Hey, we have a co-working space, come be a member." It's going to feel really repetitive to you, but your customers aren't seeing every single one of your marketing messages. So it feels repetitive to you, but you have to repeat it to make sure that everyone sees it. So I agree with this.
I'm going to explain what I mean by that. Notice how every day of the week is a different topic that we're talking about. I keep with that same theme every single week. And it might not always be exactly as it's laid out here, but I'm always talking about business. I'm always talking about product, service, or experience. I'm always talking about the same topics that make me stand out. And I wash, rinse, and repeat. I tell different stories about the same topic. I tell different stories if it's candles. I tell different stories if it's about business. But what the goal is, you want to become known for those 3 or 4 things, right? That people found you for.
I thought there was 4 things. Why would there just be 3? I thought we're following your method here.
Otherwise, people will come in and they will leave. Because if you serve them a really good post about candles and they want to know more about it, but you never talk about candles again, you're going to lose that follower. They're going to unfollow. They're not going to see your content because they're not engaging with it. So it's really important that we start to develop this consistent marketing message.
Consistency is important.
Okay, the last thing that I want to share is just show you what it looks like to actually put pen to paper. All right. So this is our weekly social media plan.
Okay, so on this, she has the days of the week. There's the thumbprint sticker thing that she was talking about. And then there's places to put your Facebook in-feed post, your call to action, and then your stories. And then on the sidebar, it says things to consider, types of content, and content creation checklist. So you can keep all these things in mind as you're making the content. I don't think this is terrible, but it might also feel like a lot of work for you to draft this here and then to open up your computer and then draft it in Meta Business Suite and schedule it. I do get what the idea would be of writing like the general idea, or to make a note, oh, we have to borrow a Superman costume and we have to get someone to stand in Anchor Space's phone booth with the Superman costume on, and we have to take that picture. That's something I have to set up. So I would understand taking notes in there, but in terms of drafting this long caption, I'd probably just want to do that in Meta Business Suite.
Every single Sunday, I sit down and I have a planning session with myself. I sit with my Make She Happen planner and I write down my
So substantial, I have to hold it up with 2 hands.
marketing goal for the week. And then I start to game plan it out. I start to say to myself, okay, what do I want to talk about on Monday? So if today is a business post day and I know I need to talk about business, I'm going, what am I marketing this week? Oh, I'm marketing my course. I need to make sure I have a post about the course. And then on my social media planner, I will actually sit here and say, all right, what are the problems that my course solves for people? And so what I'll do is I'll sit down and I'll write down maybe my bullet points of what I want to talk about. And then I'll say whether it's a reel, whether it's a static actual image, whether I'm going to make a carousel with multiple images, or it's going to be a video of some sort. I'll write down what it is. And then
all videos are now reels, but maybe she's talking about like a live stream or something.
I know underneath of that, what's my call to action? Do I want people to visit the link in my bio? Do I want people to comment? Do I want people to like or share? So right now I'm sitting down. This is my Sunday morning planning session, and I'm actually thinking about it ahead of time. I'm also saying to myself, what does my Monday look like? Is Monday crazy busy? Am I going to have to actually write my post and take the photo or create the video on Sunday and just have it saved and ready to actually click post on Monday morning? So do you see now?
You can also just schedule stuff in Meta Business Suite. I don't know why you feel like, unless you want to manually post it as like an Instagram story so you can use like the location tag and the other stickers that are available there. You can schedule a lot of these things. You don't have to schedule all of them, but rather than having to feel like you have to manually post everything, that can feel a lot to have to keep in your brain.
I'm creating this offensive business. I'm not just waking up on Monday morning going, what am I going to post today? I'm actually thinking about, oh, I need to sell the course. So I need to make sure that the post that I'm doing is helping me to sell the course. I need to write it ahead of time because I have a lot going on Monday. So this is how I'm going to make that happen. All right. Tuesday, I go to Tuesday, and Tuesday's product service. So maybe on Tuesday, I say, all right, I'm going to gather up some testimonials of people that have been through this course in the past. And on Tuesday, I am going to create a carousel of testimonials of happy customers. And so I'm going to go onto Canva and I'm going to make a square image, and it's just
Okay, I appreciate that she's going through this in this level of detail. I'd like to see examples, but this is fine too.
Going to be the person's name and their product testimonial. And so on Tuesday, I'm going to talk about, you know what, social media results don't just happen, didn't just happen for me. Look at all the people who have been through our course and have had success in the past. And so Tuesday, again, driving people back to the product and what we have to offer. Wednesday, you know what? Wednesday is going to be all about spouse, right? Because that's one of the things people know me for is spouse support. So Wednesday, it's going to be something with my husband and I, and we're going to talk about spouse support.
Ugh.
Okay. So now,
Again, just be careful. In particular, if your relationship is not on 100% solid ground, that's all you need is to develop this whole like couple brand and then one of you pieces out. I'm just saying there's multiple reasons besides respecting the other person. There's more selfish reasons to not involve your spouse in your content, but
now I'm going through and I'm
I
actually
say this as someone who's divorced. So just throwing that out there.
marking out what I'm going to be talking about on each day. Sometimes I have maybe an idea in the back of my mind. I saw Shelly, and Shelly did this really great reel. And so I've saved the reel on my own Instagram and I'm going to recreate it. So sometimes I'll even write the
Really? If someone had an idea and you're just going to copy the same idea? I don't know. Like you can have original ideas too. I don't know how I feel about this. It depends how close to Shelly's reel that your content gets.
name of the reel that I want to make. So I do the same thing all the way through for the rest of the week. Sometimes I don't have the full week planned out ahead of time. Sometimes I only have 3 days.
You said you plan all on Sunday. I thought you planned everything.
Especially when you're just starting out.
Okay.
But the thing is that on Monday morning when I wake up, I'm no longer sitting there going, what am I going to do today? How does my social media support my business? I go over to my planner, I open it up, I look at Monday, or I've already created it and I'm ready to go. So now I'm building my strategy. And at the end of the week, I can actually go back and look at my social media and say, based on my insights.
Okay. I like this. Reflect and refine. Okay. I like this. She's got your Facebook and Instagram results. She has your business results, which is, I guess, like how much you actually sell in your network marketing company, your wins of the week, your business goals for the week, and notes. So I think this is good. I think it's important to reflect at some point about what you posted to see how you could improve things. We run reports monthly, but you could totally do it once a week too, if that's what you prefer.
Because social media gives you data, they give you insights. I can actually look at my insights and say, did the social media content that I put out last week, did it help me get to my income goal? Did it help me? Did it increase my reach? What did people like to see from me? And I can use the reflect and refine section of the planner to be able to analyze my content. I get real-time data to say, oh, these are my thumbprints. People are coming back and engaging with this specific kind of post. So I want to make sure that I do something similar to that the next week. Does that make sense? I want to make sure that makes sense and you're understanding this process. So every week I'm looking at my thumbprints. I'm creating content.
I don't hate the strategy. I think the strategy is actually pretty good. I don't think you need to buy her $58 notebook to do it, but I think this is pretty solid.
That's supporting my business goals.
I wish she wasn't in a network marketing company, obviously. Hopefully she'll get out of it momentarily, but yeah, I like this way of breaking things down. I think it does make it feel manageable for people who don't have a lot of experience with social media.
At the end of the week, I'm going to my insights and I'm actually analyzing it to make sure that what I'm posting is actually growing my audience and moving me in the right direction. And I'm also using that data to plan the content for the upcoming week ahead. All right. And so the last step, the final thing that I do is just, I don't just look at social media as when I post on social media, right? When I post on social media, that's the only thing that I do. When I look at social, I look at the outward content as one piece of the puzzle. You guys know I call this the secret sauce when it comes to social media. So the secret sauce is we have to talk to people. Social media is like going to a networking event. When you walk in the door to
So I've seen enough of these trainings to know what she's talking about here. So this income producing activity, they always make the distinction here between general marketing, which is like you posting on social media, and you like following up with specific people in the DMs, or you reaching out and asking if somebody will host one of your parties or something like that. So I think that's what she's talking about here when it comes to income producing activities. You might think my social media might have produced me some income. The thing with network marketing stuff is, even though you can see, oh, this reel did well, and oh, I generated more sales this week than I did the previous 2 weeks, you don't necessarily know that those reels actually caused people to spend money. It's a bit harder to attribute those social media posts to specific sales or recruiting specific people. So they always make the distinction like, yes, you should do general marketing. Yes, maybe you should have an email or a texting list or something, but you should also be following up with people directly. And I think that's what she's going to talk about here.
To a networking event, you are looking around the room and you are trying to make eye contact with people. All right. So when I come onto social media, I post my content. And so when I post my content, the next thing that I will sit down and do is I will say, all right, I need to intentionally connect with people on social media that are like me.
Sliding in the DMs. That's what this is.
So if I go back to the fact that I like fashion and my favorite store is Ever Eve, right? I'm going to search the hashtag Ever Eve official, and I'm going to look for other people that have tagged their brand of clothing. And I'm going to like and comment and follow their account if I feel like they'd be somebody that I would actually like to have more of a conversation with. I'm looking to make eye contact. It's like when you walk into the networking event, you scan the room. When somebody makes eye contact, you walk over, you shake their hand, you introduce yourself to them, and you find out a little bit more about them. That's what I do on social media every single day. I may post, but in the back end.
And Tanya Eliza, when she did her training, which I'll link in the show notes in case you want to go watch it, she talked about spending, I think it was 2 hours a day on her marketing, on running her business. And I think half an hour or less was posting social media content, and an hour and a half of the day was doing this stuff. So this is not like a new idea. So she can call it the secret sauce all she wants, but all these people want you to track your, I guess, activity with reaching out to specific people.
And you know that I'm out there searching the hashtags of the things that are important to me. If I'm a social media consultant, I'm out there looking for other people who are struggling with their social media. All right. I'm out there, I'm creating content that adds value. I'm interacting with the people that are following me. I'm watching their content. I'm every day saying, am I creating conversation? And I track it right here on my income producing activity tracker. And that's what brings the whole strategy together. I have my social media content that people see on the outside, and then I have the time that I spend on the back end actually interacting with people and developing relationships.
Okay, but this is what I don't understand. And this is where I feel like tracking this stuff on paper is a nice idea, but isn't ideal. For example, let's say that I'm talking in direct messages to 12 people right now about stuff, right? And let's say that I'm talking to Sarah and I sent Sarah some samples of my product and I told her I'd follow up with her in a week. So I'm supposed to follow up with her next Wednesday. Okay. And let's say with Terry, I have been messaging her because she said she was interested. I've messaged her twice about setting up a time to talk over Zoom and she hasn't gotten back to me. Okay. And these are just 2 of the 12 people, right? So how do you track where people are at in your sales cycle? And then, okay, if they say no, and remember in network marketing, no never entirely means no. So let's say that Nicole said no today. When can I slide into her DMs again? A year from now? 6 months from now? What would that look like? So think you're doing this with hundreds of people over time. So how do you keep track of Sarah versus Terry versus Nicole and where you're at with them and how successful you are with the different messaging that you're doing or the sales presentation? Let's say you changed it up in January. Okay, how's that working? I feel like you just need like a CRM that's going to track all this stuff, which is a customer relationship management software that will automatically like attach to your email or automatically attach to your Instagram. And it'll keep track of like when you've messaged these people and allow you to categorize them. So maybe somebody is like, no until 2025. And I can just tag them as that in my internal system. And then I know, okay, I want to keep track of these people, but not right now. And then maybe someone else needs to schedule a Zoom call. And then I can go through my tags and say, oh, okay, here's these 5 people I need to schedule calls with, and then I can follow up with them. So I think that tracking this on paper might start feeling overwhelming and ineffective when you get to a high number of people, which I think will happen pretty quickly. If you're supposed to talk to 30 people to sign on 3 people, you're going to be keeping track of hundreds of people at that rate. I don't know if paper is going to cut it.
And how I find the time in my day to do it is by blocking out the time. Actually sit down and say, this hour is going to be engagement and liking and following new people. This hour is going to be creating my content and posting it and doing my stories for the day, right? This specific time is going to be customer service or follow-ups. So I actually work this part into.
She didn't say that last thing took an hour, but so far this is 3 hours of your day. Pockets of time, supposedly, right?
Into my day, because this is such a big part of your overall success strategy.
So far, she hasn't talked about how, because her team is a big part of how she generates revenue, how much time does she block off to follow up with her team or to support her team? That's going to be another couple of hours. So already you're working 5 hours, and her sample like amount of money she made last week in the previous slide was like $561 or something. I'm just saying this is an awful lot of work for not even a guarantee you're going to get paid any money. And if you don't believe me, keep track of your hours that you spend on social media, liking people's stuff and following new people and sliding into DMs and making social media posts and supporting your team. Divide up all that time by your revenue and figure out your hourly rate. Just do it for a couple of months. It's going to bum you out, but it might be a good reality check because there are better ways you can spend your time and make more money at it.
All right. So questions. Do you guys have any questions?
I have so many
about,
questions.
the things that I've shared, because I gave you this high level understanding of what the process looks like from start to finish. But within there, there's a lot we could talk about. What do I say when I find new followers? Or how do I decide what post to actually make? And what time should I post during the day? How much time should you allot to creating social media content? So that is something, right, that I know, yes, there will be a recording. Absolutely. You thrive on systems. Yes. And so even the process I went through, there is so much more that we could dive into and take a deeper dive. But one of the things that
you can't learn anyone's whole job in an hour. You know what I mean? Anybody's whole job.
Katie and I just actually launched. So if you are saying, I'm not rocking my social media, I really need more step-by-step guidance. And I know most of you are super busy like I am. I'm a big fan of always investing in myself, right? Always investing in my business.
I'm a big fan of everyone on this call investing in themselves by spending money with me.
Year I set aside money to be able to go out and get training that helps me to become better at the skills of the trade. And one of the skills of the trade is online marketing. And so when it comes to online marketing, a lot of times we watch like this training on how to do Instagram Reels, and we watch this training on how to do TikTok, and we watch this training on how to write good content. We watch this training on how to do engagement, but we never really have anything that pulls it all together and says, if you're starting out, this is what you do at the beginning all the way to the end. So Katie and I actually created a course. So we have a course, it's called Social Media 101, the Chic Way. And we created a course. And
okay, I'm just going to fast forward because I don't want to listen to her giant sales pitch. All right, so it looks like $399 is the regular price and $299 is the special price. I will say if you want like a general social media or a general online marketing class, something that you can look at is any social media scheduling software like Buffer or later.com is going to have really detailed tutorials about how to do social media and steps you can take. And they're going to have it for free because they want you to use their software to do it. You can also look at the various social media platforms. They offer trainings specifically about how to use their platforms. Meta has classes about how to use Meta to do your online marketing. Pinterest has classes about how to do your Pinterest marketing. But if you're looking for a unifying course, like she's saying, you can take her class, but you can also just look at like the HubSpot inbound marketing certification or Google's online marketing certification. There's comprehensive sort of classes that are put out by sort of reputable companies, and you can just take those and they're typically free. And then you can put the little badge on your profile on LinkedIn or whatever, and you'll have a good general understanding about marketing, not just social media, but things like how your website fits into things and search engines and how email marketing and text marketing fit into things. So by taking an overall internet marketing class from, one of these larger companies, Salesforce, I think has one. I'll link to some of them in the description if you want to check them out. Obviously, any class put out by a software company is going to favor their software, but obviously a class put out by these women is going to like talk about direct sales mainly. All right, Melanie. So actually, I didn't hate that. I thought that was pretty good. I like the way that you talked about the social media supporting the business goals, like a little cupping action. That was good. I also thought you broke things down pretty well. So if I had never posted to social media before, I'd know where to start. Obviously, we oversimplified it by just talking about Facebook and Instagram, but I understand when you have a limited amount of time, you can't get into every possible platform and every possible marketing configuration somebody could do. But I do think pretending that was universally useful, even for a real estate company or a brick and mortar business, I'm not quite sure that was it. I think you should just, if you're going to do direct marketing, just specialize in that. I think that's fine. The course seemed a little overpriced, but at the same time, like you did give good information, and maybe because it was a free course, there was a lot of, I guess, shilling versus content. Like the first 15 minutes was like, this is like how great I am and how I started. And then the last 10 minutes was selling this program. So 25 minutes of the 60 minutes were spent shilling. And I get it. It's a free training. Like we should expect some shilling, but that seems like a lot of shilling to me. But maybe when someone pays $300 for your class or 299 or 399 or however much it costs, maybe you get right into it. But somehow I feel like there's a certain amount of vamping that happens with direct marketing trainings that I've seen. If you want to learn general marketing principles from Melanie, like I'm not mad about it, but I do think you could learn these other places and definitely a lot less expensively and a lot more comprehensively, in particular if you don't run a network marketing business. That's just my opinion. So it's good to get back into social media trainings. This one was definitely far better than some of the ones we've seen. If you don't believe me, you can just go check out the Nicole Reacts playlist on the YouTube channel, or if you go on our website, you can go to the blog section, breakingeveninc.com/blog, and you can see all the Nicole Reacts videos there. You'll see what I mean about this being a better training. I'm seeing that direct marketing people are posting less tactical training, so it's harder for me to find them. So if you do see a good video or you do see a good person you want me to react to, I could use some help. Feel free to leave it as a comment on this video, or if you're more shy, you can use the contact form of our website, breakingeveninc.com/contact. If you use that, it goes directly to me and I can kind of get into it without us having a whole conversation in the comments section of YouTube. And if you want to lightly keep in touch, we have an email newsletter, breakingevening.com/newsletter, and it's monthly, and you can see past issues on that page. And yeah, I appreciate it. In summary, Melanie does seem to know what she's talking about, which is a relief because she does run a social media agency. But I'm not sure how applicable her advice is outside of direct sales. I would have to see more of her content and ideas as they apply to other industries to make that evaluation, but that's just my read on it, and that's what her experience is in. And it sounds like the only big company she's advised is Beachbody. So even if she's talking about kind of corporate marketing, it's related to direct sales. So again, I'm not quite sure how universally applicable her advice is, but I didn't hate this training. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you taking your time to be here watching this video. And remember, there's I think endless marketing gurus out there, but the good news is that you have me, a friend in the marketing industry who's not afraid to watch their content and let you know what I think is legit and what I think is not. So have a great day and I'll see you next time. Take care.